boils and ghouls. Turn out the lights and keep the popcorn coming, because it's time for another episode of Fright Fights Podcast. Fright Fights Podcast. Get ready for your gore gang. Tyler Cavan, Chris Lax, and Mike McKinney, tackling horror news, reviews, and fight for their survival. Coming to you from the Fright Fights Fear Lodge. Get ready to sink your fangs into a battle that will make your blood run cold. This is Fright Fights.
Welcome back to Fright Fights Podcast, the show where genre experts and enthusiasts competitively battle various topics in the horror genre. I'm your co-host, Tyler Cavan, and in this episode, we're battling an era with more horror films than Tom Savini has shirtless Instagram photos. Sitting here with me is my co-host, Mr. Chris Lax.
That is a lot of slasher films.
Yeah, right. That's a lot of shirtless photos for Tom Savini.
Yeah, what's up, guys? I'm glad to be back. Really excited to record again. It has been a very long time since we have done this. We took a little bit of time off, and we encourage you guys to go back and listen to previous episodes of our podcast, because those are a lot of fun as well. We did some interviews with cast and crew from different films. We did Stephen Cognetti, the director of Hell House, where he sat down with us and talked with us about the making of Hell House 1, 2, and 3. We also did a complete cast reunion and crew reunion for the St. Francisville Experiment movie. That was a lot of fun and very informative on the making of that film as well. But it's good to be back. And what we're going to do now is kind of re-gear it back up. We got a little bit better equipment, better headphones for audio and recording wise. And we're just ready to talk horror films. And hopefully we'll get some more interviews down the road as well. That's our plan. But we want to welcome you guys back to listening to the podcast. And like I said, go back and check out those old episodes. Those are a lot of fun. And if you have any questions, let us know. We can reach out and show you where you can find those at too.
Yeah, the St. Francisville Experiment was probably one of my favorite episodes because we kind of got the insider scoop, like in a low-key way. Spoiler alert for that podcast, we haven't listened to it yet, but he literally comes on with all the cast and reveals all the secret making ofs and kind of like shows how they were bamboozled and they thought it was real all along. So it was like tons of fun just to see them like react to that.
Yeah, they thought that for the past like 20 some years, they thought that it's real. And like on our episode, they found out legitimately of how everything was staged. And just to get those reactions and get the questions that they were asking, because it was like we started the interview and then that led to the cast members like interviewing the writer and producer of like what was going on. And it was really cool, like just to hear all the different sides of the stories and what really happened.
Yeah, like low key, like became their podcast. So that moment we were like, we're ready to interview you guys. And it was like, what do you mean we were bamboozled? And he's like, yeah, let me show you exactly what we did to you guys. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. But yeah, we will be battling 80s slasher films. And I wanted to pick a really good decade to jump right back into the battle. We've done 90s horror films before, 90s slashers, which you can check that episode out too. But what we're going to do here is there's usually three of us that's on today. We get two of us that are ready to record. But there's usually three people that are on the show. And each one of us pick a film from a category that we choose. And we all three watch the film. And then we battle of which one we think is the better of the three films in that category we pick. And so this episode, we're doing 80s slasher films. So Tyler picked an 80s slasher film. I picked an 80s slasher film. Our other guests that we would have had picked an 80s slasher film. And then we watched all three of them. And we're going to talk about those a little bit later on. But there's a few things we wanted to talk about and discuss before we get into the battle. Because Tyler, we both watched a couple of movies this week. One in particular you saw in theaters, I saw in theaters, called The Back Rooms. And I think we share similar but yet completely different thoughts on this film.
Yeah, just like, small indie film, The Back Rooms here. Kane Parsons, which is the director of this, I thought was a really interesting choice because I think you have to kind of go back to the beginning of where the Backrooms kind of came from. I know it was a very big internet, almost like became a creepypasta kind of thing, but Kane Parsons completely reimagined the series, what, like maybe 3 or 4 years after it was first being posted about. And Kane Parsons was really the first person that started like posting true, like in-depth high quality YouTube videos. He has a YouTube channel. And I guess that A24 had watched some of those videos and they were like, we could probably make this into a film. Like it seems like the quality's there. And what was interesting to me about that is the fact that Kane Parsons was like, what, like 19 or 20 years old this guy was? Probably like the youngest legitimized director of like modern history. I don't think that there's been any director like under the age of 35 that's made a actual like mainstream wide release film for a major studio. So it's kind of crazy that they took a chance on the guy, but seeing his work, it made sense to me. And I think that you get, and I mean, just jumping right into the review, but I will say, like, the back rooms, you get his, like, idea. Like, it feels like his original YouTube horror concept put on the big screen. But imagine it kind of like drawn out maybe 3, 4, 5 times longer. I don't know how you felt about it, Chris, but I know that the atmosphere to me, it seemed extremely well done. I felt like, kind of like
Yeah.
a sense of dread the whole entire time. It lost so many different like aspects I felt like it needed though. Like if you watch these like YouTube, like I think some of them's like 40 minutes long, but a lot of them just like 10 or 15 minutes long. But if you watch them, you kind of feel this like sense of like pent up, like you're almost like on the edge of your seat because you just don't know what entity or what's going to happen next. And that's something that I really, really loved about the YouTube series that we don't necessarily fully get in the film. There's one scene. Should we spoil this?
Yeah, we can go ahead. If you're
Okay.
if you're listening and you hear us talking about back rooms, and you don't want it spoiled for you, go ahead and skip forward to, 10 minutes from now or whatever, so
Yeah,
that
give
you
us a
don't
couple of
get it
minutes.
spoiled. But yeah, we will spoil this because we have seen it and it's kind of hard to talk about really without spoiling. So
Right. Well, the one what I'm trying to talk about specifically, maybe it's not like a terribly large spoiler, but the one where he goes on the shoot, like I'm trying to remember exactly what happened here, but they were down the chute at the very bottom of it. There was something they thought they had seen something. There was like a big jump scare there. That whole entire scene, that whole sequence of them going down that chute, down to that lower level with the rope, really had me. Like I was like absolutely 110%. That was probably like the most like I guess you would say like horror adjacent scene that we had. But they were trying to tell a weird narrative. Like I looked over to the person I was singing it with was my fiance. I look over to her and I'm like, I am 30 minutes into this and I'm not for sure who the protagonist is. Like I don't know, is it which one is the therapist or is it the dude that had the furniture shop? And I was kind of going back and forth of like, who do I sympathize with? And at the end of it, I was waiting for the moment where I was like, okay, I'm for this. I'm like for this character 100%. It never came. I just felt as if like it just stayed extremely surface level. There was nothing really of substance to any of the characters. It seemed like they really didn't have a very strong backstory, and they tried to make this like weird thing about grief that did not work at all for me. What did you think about? I mean, like where do you kind of stand with it? I should say.
when it first started, the first 15 to 20 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes of the film is very slow paced camera movements and character development. Well, supposedly character development. And not a lot happens. And you don't really understand what the reasoning behind like him talking to his therapist, the conversation that he's having. It doesn't really make a lot of sense at first. You have to really get through the film to kind of understand where they were going with it. And I was extremely bored. It's very slow. It's not really interesting. You're just kind of wait, hurry up and get to what the point is. And then when you find out he's in the furniture store and he steps foot into the back rooms, the story changes, the tone changes, the atmosphere changes. It really picks up to be a very interesting, very atmospheric and fun horror film.
Yeah.
But then, like you were saying, it loses its focus and goes from being a horror film. And it's shortly after where they go down that little chute. They're running in through the back rooms, and then he's trying to find the assistant manager. He's trying to find her, and she's like behind a wall. And then the camera slowly, somebody picks up the camera and walks toward him, and then it cuts away, and it goes to the therapist he was talking about. And from
Hmm.
that point on, for the rest of the movie, it's nothing but just psychological um, grief and just confusion. And you don't know if the stuff that is happening is real, if the stuff that's happening is in her head, if the stuff that's happening is in his head, if it's something a mixture of both. You're left to really not know where it's going or what it's doing. And they never get back to the horror. They never get back to the atmosphere. And it just ends in this bleak little like, what just happened? I'm so lost. I'm so confused. I don't know where they were going. I don't know what they were trying to get into. They had an idea and they were like, we need to focus the idea on trying to explain why the back rooms exist. But nobody knew how to explain how the back rooms existed. So it leaves you in this whole last ditch effort as this was creepy, wasn't it? And that's it. There's no
Bro, yeah,
explanation of why.
and the pirate. I mean, the idea of the pirate. I mean, that could have been something that was goofy or scary, and it was goofy. I mean, that's all you can say. It was a goofy idea. The whole entire thing, like you have to understand like how multi-tiered. I mean, listeners that's listening to this is going to know too. Like, I mean, the back rooms have become super popular. It's become a whole entire internet meme. There's lore behind it. There's so much talk about the back rooms that it's hard to say like, hey, I understand internet culture. I love horror. I'm into modern horror. I go to the movies and see it. I talk to my friends about it. To not know the, I guess you would say the idea behind what the back rooms are, and there's so much that could have been done with it. I know some people did enjoy the movie. I have to say I'm one of the many that didn't. I'm on the same bench with you, and it's all because, like you mentioned, I think you used the word bleak, and that's the perfect way to describe it. There is like at the end of it, essentially the lab was like Aspire Labs or something. The people who are like kind of like trying to hide the back rooms, I guess, from the world. And if you find out, or if you end up getting like caught by them, then they'll just turn you into one of the creatures inside of it. That concept, while it was cool, it didn't come around to the end. Maybe a second movie will go deeper, but is the back rooms even something that you want to go deeper? There's something about it's hard. Dude, I don't know. I don't know because on
If
one
it would
hand,
have
I'm like,
been if it would
dude,
have
go
been a
ahead.
found footage movie of just them going into the back rooms to explore it and figure out what it is, and that's what you get the entire time, it would have been phenomenal. Like a great little a never ending corridor of the unknown.
Kind of
And
like as above, so below.
yes, but
No, 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 no.
imagine if somebody had the ideas and they were like, let's do something with like Stranger Things, where you go into the upside down, and then no matter where you are, we're going to pull you out. You could be somewhere else in another alternate reality or whatever. But they were like, we don't know how to explain where they are or what's going on. So we're not going to explain anything. We're just going to let you see that something's there and that's it.
Yeah,
I was just so lost with it. I had no idea. And then the way that they kind of make you want to believe that it's all in her head doesn't make sense either because of what you see. And then
hmm
if you do say that it is real, well, that doesn't make any sense either because she's in the back room still, and then she was also out of the back rooms, and it was just a lot of unnecessary ways to explain something that didn't need explaining without I don't know how to explain it. Like it's
That's what I
unexplainable.
was trying to say. I'm having a hard time because on one hand, they're gonna piss me off if they don't tell me anything at all about the back rooms, but also if they explain the back rooms, that will also piss me off.
But I think that's what it needs to be. I don't think you need to explain anything. Like the backrooms
No,
itself, it started off with this internet lore
yeah,
of just a
people
picture.
understand it.
Yeah, so you say this place is creepy, let's explore that. We don't need to know where it comes from. We don't need to know what like how it's made. We just need to know that it's there and it's fucking creepy. So
Mhm.
if you take, like I was saying, a found footage where somebody takes a camera, they find a way to go into it, start exploring, and it's just never ending corridor of them filming and weird things happening, going to weird places in that world, and then ultimately just being killed off, that would be a great movie, in my opinion.
Well, even the creatures that they used in this. So there's like a scene where the main character goes on a super long monologue, and he is surrounded by like what every single creature that we've seen in the back rooms. And then you see the therapist, which is also in the back rooms with him. She walked through, found him. Long story short, basically, he just goes on this, what, maybe 15-minute long monologue that had no substance. That was the moment that I decided that was an absolute trash movie. And there was just really nothing to these characters. I mean, I guess they're trying to say, like, oh, well, they're all tortured souls that understand him and his grief. So therefore, that's why he kind of associates himself. He feels more at home in the back rooms. And his therapist is trying to, like, listen to this. Obviously, she probably understands a deep psychological need that he has that's inside of him. But I'm not buying the idea that this weird company has turned all of these people into the creatures they are. And maybe they had the same tortured past. I don't know what they're trying to do. Like I said, it stays so surface level and it's trying so hard to be like, we're going to be so like meaningful. We're going to have like like the end of Smile, for example, they brought in the whole like mental health thing and it kind of worked in a way. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I could buy into that. Smile, and then at the end you see it's a lot about grief and mental health and all that. But this one tried to go in that direction, it seemed like. And I understand the source material. They didn't want to ignore it because Aspire was in Kane Parsons' original series. So I get why they wanted to keep some of that information in there because it wouldn't really be a true adaptation of his original source material if they didn't. It just was so bad and poorly done. The acting itself, I have to say, like, I think it was horrendous. A lot of people were like, "Whoa, it may have been bad." I understand maybe Kane Parsons did it right. He wasn't able to make the movie correctly the first time. Maybe it's his age, maybe it's experience or whatever. But at least the actors were good. I don't know what they're seeing. I didn't think the actors were even good. I personally did not find any redeeming qualities at all about this.
I thought they were fine. They didn't bother me. My favorite characters were the two, the assistant manager and her boyfriend who went in with the cameras. Those were my two favorites.
No, I agree. I think they were the strongest. But so I mean, if you go to my letterbox, you'll see that I just destroyed the film. I didn't even leave a review because I was so angry at the time. But I would rate it probably a solid 2 out of 10. I think that's a very fair score.
It has a lot of potential, and I really want to see if they do a sequel, if they can do it right, where they make you more interested in the back rooms and not worry about the explanation of all that stuff. So it does have a lot of potential to be good, and I would say I would give it probably a 4 out of
Boo.
10.
You're being too nice. Well, I do want to well, I kind of like while we're on the subject, I guess, of seeing a bad film. And I really don't want to bring this up because I know you haven't seen the film yet, and it's something that I think you would actually really like. And that's Obsession. And I don't know if I want to talk about it or not because I really don't want to give anything away at all.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I do
Yeah,
want
we
to see
need
it.
to.
It's Curry Barker, right?
Yeah, so the guy that did again, these YouTubers making films, it's crazy to know. Really, I guess before we move on from even discussing these two opening films, I want to say how interesting it is that the horror industry is now seeing so many like low budget YouTube creators make things, laterally, getting recognized as somebody who's capable of making not only a independent film, but a film that's released in 4,000 screens, a film that can make over $300 million, a film that a major studio will trust, like essentially kids making. Like these are just like kids. It reminds me of like back whenever people had like Super 8 cameras, they would go out and make horror films. Like Sam Raimi, for example, kind of how he got his start. It's kind of like a renaissance of that. Like we're getting so many like really, really good things coming out. and the trust is finally there that I felt like they never had before. A lot of times studios don't really want to risk, so much money on something that may or may not be successful, but now we're seeing these calculated risks come and they're paying off. I mean, the back rooms had like what, a $90 million opening weekend. And then we have Obsession, which was probably the first, not only horror film, but like the first film period to have a bigger second weekend and a third weekend and a fourth weekend than its first. And it just keeps building momentum and more people are seeing it. And the local theater that we
Yeah.
have, me and Chris both used to work at this theater locally, and we know the manager that's currently there, and me and her were talking, and she said that she had not done this in a long time, but moved houses like she put Obsession in a small house. She had to move it to a larger house at second week, and then even the larger house was selling out, and then she ended up moving it to an even larger one, like literally like theater one, and like that's like one of like the largest ones that we have at ours. And to go from like a 70 seat theater to like what, a 200 some seat and being able to still sell that out on week four, it's crazy just to know like how I guess like word of mouth travels now. But yeah, back to what we were talking about though. Curry Barker, yes. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've
And
seen Milk and Cereal.
I've not seen it, but I've heard that it is a pretty decent movie as well. But didn't he made that movie for under 100,000, right?
He made that movie not for only less than 100,000. He made it for like $800.
Okay, so I was thinking 800,000, but or not.
No,
Sorry, I was
yeah,
thinking a hundred thousand is what he made it for, just under 100,000. But $800, yeah, that's
800
crazy.
bucks. Basically, didn't have a budget.
That's fucking crazy, man. It's like, could you imagine?
No, I know. And honestly, the thing is I think Curry Barker, don't quote me on this, I don't know like a ton about Curry Barker, but I think he wanted to be a comedian and he's kind of like an actor by trade due to him wanting to be a comedian. So for 800 bucks, I think he acted in the film, he directed the film, edited the film, he did a lot of the work himself. But if you watch it, it's tense as hell. Like it's super well done. It's almost like you get the same intensity in Milk and Cereal as you do Obsession, and there's a vast difference. They made Obsession for like $1 million, maybe a little bit less than $1 million actually, but that's still cheap for a movie that's made over like what, almost $300 million.
Yeah,
You got to see it. I'm telling you, you got to see it. It's so good. It's
I
so good.
I plan on. I'm going to eventually. Yeah, the first chance I
Somebody
get, I'm going to
mentions
watch
the
it.
word obsession, and my like head snaps. I'm like, what'd you just say? But no, yeah, it's a great film. I'm still on the hunt for a One Wish Willow. If somebody wants to hook me up with one, I will take any PM that you send me and give you my address. I will gladly take it off your hands. I'm really, really wanting one.
I don't know what that means yet, so I'll take your word for it.
Oh, you what's I guess you would say you definitely don't want a One Wish Willow, or if you do want a One Wish Willow, you need to be very careful what you wish for because you only get one. All right, that's it. That's all you need to know. So what else have you
Was there
seen?
any? As I say, was there any other movies in theaters or anything like that you wanted to talk about? Because I've just been watching a lot of low budget stuff, which I plan on talking about on another podcast. I had a magazine article I wanted to go over here, so I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to go through first.
There is. I would go over I guess Scary Movie 6. It's while it's not horror, it's horror adjacent. I guess it's worth a mention on here at least because I grew up with these films. I grew up with a film. Um I grew up with the films that I really wanted to see, which was Scary Movie. And I never was allowed as a kid because they were like too raunchy, so my family would never let me watch them. So they were kind of like those forbidden films I always wanted to watch, and I would sneak behind my parents' back and put on at night when they was asleep and like laugh and just and laugh my ass off the whole entire time. But seeing this now, I was so excited because the experiences I guess I had as a kid. And I don't know, I did rewatch the original one and it held up really well. And this one, I guess, whenever I went into it, I was expecting it to kind of be, I don't know. And I don't know if I wanted it to be updated. What I'm trying to say is I don't know if I wanted the sixth film to be like the first film or if I wanted it to be updated to modern like 2026 kind of politics because it kind of did both. It kind of kept the idea of the original Scary Movie and it also kind of updated itself to modern day. And it never really quite landed either of them. Um, as I watched it, a lot of it felt very dated, and it wasn't like in a good way. I guess you would say it's more in a very like meh kind of way. Like they brought back all the original characters. They did this like cool thing at the end where they tried to loop modern horror into like the classics, kind of like legacy characters, which is all the obviously the characters from the original scary movie. And they were trying to like replace basically the plot is they're trying to replace these characters with new characters, but they're wanting to keep the legacy characters, and that's the whole entire plot. I don't know if I'm making any sense or not with that because it's kind of a confusing thing. But overall, it was somewhat fun. Some of the jokes from, I guess, like modern horror was kind of cool and it was kind of funny and it kind of worked. And then some of the content that kind of went back, it just didn't really feel, I guess you would say, like it, it didn't quite land the way it would have before, 20 years ago or something. So overall, it was a decent little film. I mean, there's really not much to say about it. I can't really. It's hard to like give a review when it's just trying to parody itself, kind of, because it kind of throws back like the original Scary Movie 2, Scary Movie 3, especially the first three there. So it's kind of hard to give it a review without just saying like, hey, it's just trying to copy what it did.
Yeah.
And after copying what it did, it just tried to add in modern themes that didn't really work. So. I would probably overall, I mean, it's probably right in the middle, like a four, maybe a five. If you like Scary Movie in the series, definitely go see it because it's worth seeing. It has some nice little nods, but it's just not something that, I love or would ever watch again, probably.
I'll watch it eventually. I just probably wait for it to hit Blu-ray. I'll buy the Blu-ray.
They're fun. I mean, the characters are so funny in it. The Wayans brothers, I mean, they did
And
okay.
I love the Wayans brothers. I think they're really funny, but I think the problem lies with when you watch the original like Scary Movie 1 and 2, all the jokes come with parodying other films and references. And it seems
Yeah.
like this movie focuses a lot on just parodying on political aspects of modern day politics.
It also parodies what I was trying to say earlier too. Like it parodies on itself. Like they use like the character Shorty and all that, and they go back to the original three films and they kind of parody, I guess, their characters from there in a weird way. You'll understand once you see it. That's kind of how I saw the whole thing, and it just wasn't. It just didn't really feel like fresh. It kind of just felt like they were just trying to mimic, I guess, nostalgia. Maybe that a lot of people's on the nostalgia factor where they're wanting to see Scary Movie, but they want to see it the way the originals were. And this one kind of you could tell they wanted to appease a new generation because they obviously have been resting Scary Movie for what, 15 years. Well, we have a new generation of people watching movies now. So they're probably thinking, okay, we need to appease them, but we also want to make the people who has watched the original films happy. So I'm guessing there's some kind of weird like thing they try to throw both, and it just didn't quite work throwing both of them in. But you're right, there are just from the trailer you can kind of get an idea what they're trying to do with modern like politics and all that. Which I mean, it's parodying, and they say when you parody things, you should parody what's going on in that current time. So maybe in their head they're thinking they're doing the justice to it, but I don't know, dude. It just doesn't quite you know it doesn't quite land for me. Some of the jokes were good, some of it just wasn't. It kind of went over the top for 2026, I think, at that time. So it's worth, like I said, it's worth a watch, but it's definitely something that I don't know you might love. I don't know. I have a feeling you might love it. Pardon me. Do
Anything
you
you
like
don't
the?
like, I like.
I don't know. Do you like the original Scary Movie franchise? Like the let's say like the original three specifically.
I I do like the first three. I didn't care for part four, but it's not as bad as what part five was. Five was one of the worst movies that I could imagine watching again. Like it was awful.
They lost focus. I feel like they were just trying to throw too much at it. But this is like the first one the Wayans brothers were part of since what, like the second one or the
Yeah,
first one?
they did one and two, and then when they made part three, they wanted them to they backed out for some reason. They were there was a reason why. I can't remember what it was, but there was a reason why they didn't continue on. Um, and I don't know if it had to deal with like letting them work the way they wanted it to do, or if they wanted to take control of like the producers and studios wanted to take control of like the story and characters. And I think they were like, we're not doing that. We're going to be our own. We're going to do our own. And they said, no,
Yeah.
we're going to do it this way. And I think like legit like the money reasons and contracts and stuff, like they backed out of it because of it. But um, they they got the franchise taken from them, and this was the first time that they were able to get the franchise back and do what they wanted to do. So they ran with that idea of, hey, we now have our own, story that we want to do. Now we're going to do it again, just for modern day. But I'll watch it eventually.
Yeah. I knew it was something like that because it had been a long time since they had made one. So, but that's really all I got. I mean, I want to talk about Obsession, but you need to get your ass to the theater and see it. I'm telling you, you got to see it. I'll go. I will go with you. I'll go see. If you want to see it, I will see. I will literally see it 100 more times.
Well, I'll watch it. Yeah, we'll go sometime. But I thought this would be really fun to do. I found this article in this magazine that was the definitive 25 greatest horror movies ever made. And the way they came up with this list, and this is a fairly old magazine, it's from Total Film Magazine. And this was back whenever, we still had George Romero, Toby Hooper. Who else is on this list here? See, George Romero, Toby Hooper, Wes Craven. They sent, and there's like 20 other different filmmakers. They sent a letter out to all these different filmmakers they asked them to make their top 10 favorite horror films list. And then they got all the letters back and they went through and took like a tally of how many times each movie was listed. And like if it's at number one, it gets 10 points. If it's at number two, it gets 9 points, all that way. And they added them all up to whichever one has the best rating and made that the number one movie and so on and so forth.
Also, they actually took a survey.
Yeah. So the definitive 25 greatest horror movies ever made, according to famous horror filmmakers.
If they have taste, we can't trust them. 100%.
I have not went over the list yet, so I have no idea what's going to be on it. No idea what's at number one. They have about 3 on each page listed here, 3 or 4, so I can see like the first 3 or 4. But we're going to go through. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. We're just going to kind of go through quickly, share our thoughts on that and how it's rated on the list here. So, number 25, we have The Devil's Backbone from 2001. I have not I can't remember if I've seen this one or not. I don't think I've seen this one. Is this
Guillermo del Toro?
Guillermo
right?
del Toro? Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
It's good. That's all I can say about it. I mean, it's good. It's not great. It's good.
Yeah.
It's on his best.
I've not seen this one. At number 24, we have from 1932, this is Todd Browning, I think, right? The Freaks.
Todd Browning's The Freaks. That's classic. I can see that. I mean, honestly, I think Guillermo del Toro is kind of a fan of that. So maybe Guillermo del Toro tallied this list because he put his own movie on there first, and then now we have The Freaks. Let's see if we can get maybe like a Pan's Labyrinth on there or something.
Maybe. The only thing that I don't really classify Freaks as really a horror film, because it's not really a horror story. It's more of like it's the people that are involved are just different. That's why it's considered horror. But I don't know. Everybody has their own different tastes in what they consider horror films. I guess I could classify it as a horror film.
It's horror adjacent, Chris. It's horror adjacent.
All right, number 23 from 1976, we have Carrie.
Hell yeah. I think that's a good spot for it.
Yeah, it's a really good, it's a very classic film, but yeah, up there high on the, or I guess low on the list is it's needed. The next one, I've actually not seen this one either. This is a classic film and actually can be considered one of the first slasher movies. It is from 1960. It is Peeping Tom.
See, I've never seen it.
Oh, we're on the same boat. So I've never seen it.
Well,
either.
here's the thing, though. I don't know, and not to interrupt this list because I can kind of see what this is landing, starting to land. I don't know. I just feel like they're not deep cut films. These are more like classics everybody knows. I don't know exactly. That would not be our list, I can tell. I would not put, I don't know, whenever I think of just 25 films, I don't know. I'm like all these films I'll leave off. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Yeah, so
continue on.
far, yeah.
I'll make my judgment at the end.
All right, number 21, Don't Look Now from 1973.
Dolan, that's a good
I've
one.
not I've I've not seen this one either.
Am I crazy? Let me double check. Let me look this up because I remember seeing. Yes, yes, yes. This is actually a really good film. I've not watched it like literally 10 years. I used to love it. I was like obsessed with it at one point.
Number 20, this is strange. Bride of Frankenstein,
No,
which
I
I
get it.
mean, it's good, but I mean, is it better than the original Frankenstein? I would probably replace that with Frankenstein like instead.
We have to disagree. Okay, okay, so another little thing about me, I think my number one all-time favorite, you would never believe this either. I don't know if you even know this. It's great. I mean, I don't know why I'm not sharing this with you before, but Invisible Man to me is probably the best made Universal classic monster film. Second would be Bride of Frankenstein, and then right behind that would be Frankenstein. So top three: Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and then The Invisible Man. I just look at The Invisible Man, and that thing it's perfect in every way. And Bride of
How do
Frankenstein
you?
is too.
I want to know one question. How do you look at the Invisible Man?
I mean, it's a feeling.
All right,
You
number
don't see him, but
19,
you know when he's there, Chris.
from 1976, The Omen.
Okay.
And I have actually not seen this movie.
What?
Yeah, it's a
No way.
classic. I've seen lots of clips from it, but every single time throughout my life I've ever tried to watch this movie, something has happened to make me not be able to watch the film.
That's I'm just telling you, it's him.
And there was one time when I was like, you know what? I'm going to give into it. I'm going to finally watch this movie. And me and my wife we were going to sit down to watch it, and we started to watch it. The first thing we did was we put the disc in to play, and the disc was messed up. It wouldn't play the disc. So then we
That's
tried
scary.
to stream it. We found it where it was streaming online, bought it, started playing it, and a storm comes through and the power goes out. Okay.
That's wild.
After about 15 minutes, the power comes back on. We decide to go ahead and give it another shot, watch to start the movie back up. And I mean, power's working, the internet's working, everything's working. We go to play it, and it gets to the point to where we were at whenever the power went off, and it wouldn't go any further. Like it would not load any further of the movie for the streaming service. Like it was done. So we just gave up, and I haven't tried to watch it since.
That's Damien trying to screw you.
Number 18. Ooh, we have different opinions on this one. 1973, The Wicker Man.
Oh, yes. Yes. I think it's appropriate place too. Whenever you talk about folk horror and you talk about, I guess you'd say kind of culty films, that ranks top five for me of all time.
Yeah. Now, if you want a movie where a bunch of naked women run around a circle, that's number one.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Remember,
uh,
I texted you that one day, and I was like, what was I said I was just like, I we were talking about like categories or something, and I'm like, you know what? I need a category where naked old women do a ritual around a fire, and you're like, basically every folk horror ever made.
yeah. 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 Folklore is known for its naked women, naked old women.
That's why I like it.
Number 17, 1968's Rosemary's Baby.
That's a fantastic film.
It's a good film.
That's
It's in a good spot too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
That
five-star film for
ending,
me.
yeah, the ending to that is phenomenal. It's got that classic shot there with the toward the end.
Hmm.
Number 16? 1963, The Haunting. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's better
that's
than
kind
the
of where I'm
remake.
at. I'm like,
It's
okay, so
better
you're gonna
than the
put the
remake
haunt.
from the 90s.
It is, and I don't know why it's above Rosemary's Baby. It's kind of weird.
I would put it higher up on, or well, I guess lower on the list, probably around number 23 or so, probably.
I would put The Haunting somewhere like around 80 or 90. If you're talking
This
about the
next
100
movie,
horror films ever made. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I've not seen this one either, but I've tried to. This one's called The Innocents from 1961. It's not streaming anywhere. It's hard to find on disc. It's out of print. And then, at least it was when I was looking for it. And then the only place I found it to that you could actually watch it was through YouTube with a really bad quality. So I haven't checked it out yet. I don't know anything about it yet.
Never seen it.
This is a weird jump for number 15. 1999's The Blair Witch Project.
Dang.
That
I think it's
changed
needed
a
though.
lot. Like, yeah, that's like a completely different film than anything that's been listed so far. Then
It's
we
kind
go
of weird
to.
spot, but
I actually got those two mixed up. I apologize. Number 15 was The Blair Witch Project. Number 14 was The Innocents. I mixed those two up.
okay. I mean, they're at the
And
same
then we
spot.
go. Yeah. So next below that is number 13, and that is 1981, An American Werewolf in London, John Landis.
Masterpiece, best werewolf film of all time.
Which I think John Landis was one of the people that they asked for the survey, so he put his own movie in his top 10 list.
Everybody got phone calls. They were like, "So we know you guys got these surveys.
Oh,
I want to let you know that we need that film in there."
this is really cool too. Over here, when we get done here on the side, they have a listing for each person that they did in the survey, and it's got the number one choice that they picked for their all-time favorite film. So I will list those here in just a second.
Oh yeah,
Number 12 is 1931's Frankenstein. Okay, I do agree now because that's higher up on the list than what Bride of Frankenstein was. I actually really like Frankenstein.
I can't be mad at it.
Ooh. Number 11, 1968, George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. I'm surprised that's not higher on the list.
Well, absolutely, it's probably the most influential zombie film of all time. I mean, I do like, I don't know,
There's
Dawn of
no
the Dead.
probably.
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Number 10, 1977, Suspiria.
My
That's a
guys,
good one.
I'm telling you,
I,
it's
I
the
listened to the
best.
episode, re-listened to our episode where we reviewed that movie, and me and you were on the same page with Suspiria, and Mike hated it, and we were just giving Mike like complete shit the entire time for like not liking Suspiria.
Literally, the film's
Um,
great. I mean, it's the number one Giallo film. Okay, wait, I shouldn't say that. I love Tenebrae. I have a soft spot for Tenebrae. I think that ask the 20-year-old version of me, and I would say Ride or Die Suspiria is number one, and it always will be. As I get older, I kind of do see, Tenebrae has a lot of interesting themes in it. The plot of just let me go on my high horse here for a minute. The plot of Suspiria, I understand for some people watching it, the plot is paper thin. You're watching a unique. This is me being artsy. I should not. I've already said too much, Chris. I'm just trying to say that Suspiria, you're watching a moment of art. You're watching horror. You're watching gore. You're watching Dario Argento do some of the greatest filmmaking of all time. It's just the look. It's the vibe. It's the killings. It's every single like visual treat that you have in that film was done and executed so perfectly. It just cannot be duplicated. I just feel like I understand the plot's not there. It doesn't need to be there. And I mean, you can argue that for some of these 80 slasher films. Let me go back to the history of horror.
all
I can go
right,
on
moving
about
on.
Suspiria. I will defend it forever, forever.
Number 9 on this list is 1978's Dawn of the Dead.
Absolutely.
Okay. I go back and forth between liking Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead like better than each other. It's like it depends on what mood I'm in because I can watch either of those 100 times and still like them every single time I watch it.
Well, Night of the Living Dead walked, so Dawn of the Dead could run. So
Oh man.
really, we should think that.
Number 8, 1975 Jaws. That's crazy because most people consider that to be like one of the top horror films ever made.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, around the list where it is, I think it's pretty good. I mean, I could see why some people think it's their number one. Like look at this. I wonder if can you
Yeah.
Not
And
my
also
John
remember,
Sherman.
this is done by like actual horror filmmakers, so they're influenced from other films and what they think is the best.
Spielberg's paid him off.
Next up, number 7 is 1979's Alien,
Oh,
which
absolutely.
I've actually never seen it.
Oh, you need to. And I think
Oh,
I would love to go back and rewatch that film for the first time again.
number 6, 1978, Halloween. At number
Classic.
6, I'm surprised it's not number 1 or number 2.
I'm kind of
Before I
curious what number one is.
That's okay. Before I flip the page, do you want to take a guess at what you think is going to be the number 1 horror film in this list?
The number one horror film.
I'm going to go with either, there's two choices. It's got to be either Psycho or Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
No, I honestly was thinking Texas Chainsaw Massacre for a minute. Psycho, I think, is gonna be number two or three. Probably, I mean, honestly, you're probably not too far off. I would probably say the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or I'm trying to think of more like artsy films from maybe like the '60s. I'm trying to think back to the '60s, but I think Hitchcock definitely will be number one or number two.
Yeah. All right. Let's move over here and go with number 5, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay,
Wow.
now that you said that, it like literally came in my head. And that should have been number one. That should have been number one. What about Kubrick? Maybe The Shining will be number one.
All right. Number 4, The Shining.
Oh, okay. That's like a quintessential film you have to put on there.
Yep. Number 3, 1960, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
That's it. It had to be number. I mean, I was thinking number two, but okay.
Number 2, 1973, The Exorcist.
Okay, fine, whatever.
And number 1, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Of
1974.
course.
Yep. All right. So this list has each individualized filmmaker and what their number 1 movie is. It's actually got their listing of all top 10s, but I'm not going to go through all of those. So we'll start with John Landis. His number 1 movie of all time was The Exorcist. Wes Craven was Nosferatu, which wasn't even listed on the list. Huh.
Huh.
Toby Hooper listed Psycho as his number 1 movie.
I can see that.
John Carpenter listed The Texas Chainsaw Massacre as the number 1 movie. Guillermo del Toro listed Frankenstein as his number 1 movie. Zack Snyder was on the list, and he listed Alien as his number 1 movie. Eli Roth with number 1 being Pieces, which he has talked about in movies or in interviews that movie was so influential to him. That like weird it's not Italian, is it? I don't remember. Is it
It's Italian.
Italian?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that
it's so
weird
good.
knockoff of Texas Chainsaw. Joe Dante is The Innocents. That's weird. And then Edgar Wright's number 1 movie is Carrie. And then George Romero's number 1 movie, which wasn't on the list, is The Thing from Another World.
I can see that too. I don't know. I mean, some of their choices are kind of odd. I think that I'm sorry, but why is Zack Snyder on there?
Yeah,
Like
I don't know.
he's done some kind of like weird like noirish films, but nothing like true horror. Or has he? Am I missing a Zack
Um,
Snyder horror film?
he did that. Didn't he do like Army of the Dead a few years ago?
He did do one of those, yeah. But I mean, out of all the horror creators, that's who you came up with. He was the only one that answered the phone call.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I guess you have any other films you want to talk about, or do you want to go into our little battle?
I think it's time to go into battle.
Sounds good. So we have three films here that is from the '80s, and I want to say before we even get started in this that I was texting Chris. I'm like, we probably want to do something that is kind of like mainstream, kind of major franchise, and then we probably want to do like a one-off kind of random slasher film. And then we kind of want to do one that's like kind of like more of like I guess you'd say like cult following, something that's a little bit more smaller. But honestly, all of our films are related, and they're weirdly related by Tom Savini.
Yeah,
Out of all people,
yeah,
it it's one of those things where you think 1980s slasher film, and I mean Tom Savini's attached to so many of them, and there was so many films he turned down to do other films. So anytime I put on, like, for example, didn't he like turn down like Friday the 13th, like some of the later, like the ones right there in the middle because he left the franchise to do so many other 80s slashers? I feel like at some point the guy's making like what, five, six, seven different slashers every single year.
yeah. Um,
At least as a special effects artist.
yeah. So if you want to jump right in, so we battled three films. We'll just go right into the first film that we picked,
Yeah.
which the first one is um, was actually. Do you want to do Mike's pick first?
Yeah, that's fine. We can, or we can, doesn't matter to me.
All right, we'll jump right in. So I picked one, Tyler, you picked one, and then we had our other guest that was going to pick one as well, who's not here. So we'll go with that person's first. They picked The Burning, so that was the choice of the slasher film for the '80s slasher. And you were talking about Tom Savini in this movie. So Tom Savini turned down Friday the 13th Part Two. So
Right.
he did Friday the 13th, turned down Friday the 13th Part Two, so that he could go on to do The Burning, and which is kind of like a Friday the 13th ripoff to begin with. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
you want
heard
to
they
go?
were making
Yeah,
Friday the 13th over again. He
yeah.
said, I'm
So
all in.
the plot basically resolves around at the very beginning of it. There is it starts off at a campsite, and these campers are playing a practical joke on like the what would you call him? Like the worker, like
Yeah, he's
the
like not quite a
groundskeeper.
counselor, but yeah, he's more like a groundskeeper kind of guy.
Yeah, and later on in the film, you learn that he probably wasn't really that good of a person. But anyways, they're playing this practical joke on him where they're going to scare him. They light like this. They have this dirty skull that has like worms coming out of it. With it's like a candle. They have it lit with a candle, and they're
Yeah.
going to just set it in front of his bed, wake him up, and then he's going to wake up and be scared by it. But when he wakes up, he gets scared. He knocks the candle over. It catches the house on fire, and he basically goes up in flames. Um, which you're at first you don't know if he dies or not, but then it's reported that he is at the hospital. He has survived, but he is completely covered. 100% of his body is covered in like third-degree burns. Um, it transitions really weirdly because you go from that to like LA streets where he's like walking down the street, like looking for hookers to kill. Like it's a very
Right.
odd transition. And then you find out that that's the same person. And then it goes back to a campsite in modern day, like a year, like what, 10 years later or something. I
Hmm.
think it's 10 years
And then it's
later.
like the revenge stalk and slash kind of thing. Almost follows a very similar plot to like, at that point, Friday the 13th. It's
Yeah.
very camp.
Yeah. And we have what is very strangely to see on film, Jason Alexander with hair, because you know him from Seinfeld and you've only seen him from Seinfeld because
Yeah.
what really else do you know him? Like if you were saying what was Jason Alexander known for, you'd say Seinfeld. So you only remember him as that character pretty much, but he has hair in this movie. So it's very strange because he's very young in it. But all these camp counselors, like isn't Holly Hunt or somebody else is in this movie too, like is a very small part. I can't
Um,
remember who it was.
I'm not sure. Like a smaller character, I'm not 100% sure. I know that there's like a cast of a lot of the actors were not like super well known, honestly.
Yeah. And but they're all like they look like they're 30 and they're playing like teenagers at a camp at a camp, which
That's
is
how they
funny.
all do. That's crazy.
Yeah, but this one is more so like with this one you see it like there are some younger characters in it who
Mm.
look kind of younger, but everybody in this movie like the main cast looks like they're in their early 30s playing 19, 18, 19 year olds. Um, but anyways, they decide that for camp they're going to go on a 3-day rafting adventure where they're going to like canoe down the river, spend the night for 3 days, and then canoe back for their last hurrah at camp. And while they do that, shenanigans occur with like their canoes get stolen, and then people go missing, and it's all led to believe that there's a killer on the little. It's like a little island that they end up canoeing to, and they get trapped on. And the killer slowly kills them off one by one in very 80s slasher-esque style, similar to Friday the 13th. And
Yeah.
it even kind of has like some giallo moments to it because you see it from like the perspective of just like the hand in front, but he's got the shears. He's famous for the shears he's holding. Um, but the thing that comes out about this is the practical effects. This movie is 100% known for practical effects only because, like you were saying, Tom Savini coming off Friday the 13th, he gives it that Friday the 13th-esque slasher feel. And there's one particular scene that highlights this as a slasher film, and that is the raft scene. And if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what we're talking about.
I was just about to talk about that too. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So these characters have to build a raft to get off the island because the canoes have gone away. And it's a makeshift raft, and they're flowing down the river. They're tired. They want to get back. They don't know yet that people have been killed. They just know that something isn't right, and they're trying to get back to the campsite. And they see one of their canoes, which is odd because if you're rafting up to a canoe, you got to be able to see inside the canoe. And how did the killer in the canoe know when? Like he just sat there for like all day and all night waiting for someone to hopefully come up to him. Like what if they would have kept rafting?
I love the music in that scene.
Yeah, they take the raft up to the canoe because they're going to try to like get it so they can use that instead of the raft. And the second they get up to it, it's this quick montage scene where the killer pops up with the thing of shears and kills like 7 people on this raft in a matter of, what do you say, like it's like 15 seconds. And he slashes, stabs, cuts the fingers off. And if you notice, if you've seen interviews with Tom Savini, he always talks about taking the weapon and using the effect first, and then using the real weapon against something to make it look like it's real. And you'll see that, and then going back to the effects work. So you'll see a slash happen, and then you'll see the shears going like stabbing into the boat, and it's like actual shears stabbing into the wood. And then it'll be another shot of them picking it up and then cutting the fingers off. So like you get that established shot of that's real, that's sharp, and then cutting the fingers off. So it makes it more realistic in your mind. And that's like the highlight of the movie. That and the nudity scenes, those are highlighted too.
That's hilarious. Well, no, I think
it's got boobies.
Well, one thing I will say about the film is I do think that this one has a strong concept but bad plot. That's kind of the thing, and they're really like you said, like that's literally the basic plot of the entire film. And I think that, like you said, the effects is what shines. It's one of those things where Tom Savini has beautiful use of. I love how in a lot of Tom Savini movies, like the killer like slowly drives the weapons. I think at the time, whenever like that was being done, it felt like almost like faster, but now you see how quick like horror movies, like how fast the kills are. And I don't know, there's just something that's like gruesome about it. I mean, he just really nails it. And he just does not hold back. It's so good. I How do you feel about the shears as a murder weapon as well? Because I think this film did it kind of before anybody else. You know what I mean? There was not a strong sense of like slashers were just kind of going into its golden age. So
I still
they
don't
kind of
know
have
any
that.
other. I don't know any other slashers that uses shears as the main killer's weapon.
Right, but also I know there was like I don't know, there's some kind of a thing where Madman Mars, um what was it, Harvey Weinstein wanted to make like a horror movie based off of the success. Yeah, we can.
I just
I know.
you mentioned you were like the Burning Killer, Madman
Uh,
Mars, Harvey Weinstein, like
Weinstein.
like he's the listing of the serial killers. Like
But number one is Harvey Weinstein. No,
number one predator is Harvey Weinstein. Yeah,
you're right. Well, I mean, basically, I mean, he wanted to like make like horror. He wanted to make like a slasher film, and whenever he came up with the idea to do that, I know he employed who directed this? I don't know who the director even was, but I know that he got like a group of people together to make the burning, and they ended up having to
it was
change the
Tony Maitland.
title. Yeah, I'm not familiar. What did he make?
He made the Burning.
Yeah, he did make the burning. I wonder if he made anything else. I don't think he.
Honestly, I'm not sure about him either. Yeah, it was Bob Weinstein and Harvey Weinstein as producers, directed by Tony Malum.
I know. So Harvey Weinstein. This is the film that Harvey Weinstein asked his. There was a film called "Don't Go in the House." Do you remember that film? It was called The Burning, and it was
That's
made.
the one where they set the entire basement on fire. Am I right? Like,
Yeah,
is that what?
yeah, he wears like the whole almost like welding mask, and he has the flamethrower. But keep in mind, there's a flamethrower in The Burning, so there's like similarities, I guess you would say. But they asked them to change the name of "Don't Go in the House" because it was named The Burning as well. So they all kind of correlate. 1980, honestly, I didn't realize this, but 1981 was kind of a banging year for slasher films. There's
Yeah,
so much
it
that came
was.
out that year.
Yeah, there's a lot. Um,
But I do think that the overall killer in this was fun. I just don't think that there was really much substance to it, but overall, it was so well executed, and the concept of it was so good. Like, I mean, you don't have plot, but you have concept. I mean, that's kind of what you want from a slasher film to begin with.
yeah, but the main thing like that's weird about it is Jason Alexander is your favorite character of the movie, and he's not the main character. He's really not in it that much. You
Yeah.
don't care about any of the characters at all, even the heroes, the people who are getting killed. You don't care about any of them. They're very very basic characters, um, and you just wish you had more of a Jason Alexander with hair.
Yeah,
Oh,
I kind of get that, I guess, but
there's a moment. I don't know if you caught this when you were watching it this time around because I've seen it a few times, but there's a moment when they're all inside the like the what's it called, the main house that everybody goes in to have lunch, like the cafeteria area. There's a word for it. I can't
the
fucking
mess,
think
like
of it.
yeah, it was in the mess hall or whatever.
Yeah, mess hall. Thank you. And this was right before they go on the rafting adventure, and the one of the the tall skinny guy that gets his fingers cut off.
Yeah,
Uh, he's going back to the cabin to check on the other kid that's in the cabin with him. And as he's getting up, like they're in this mess hall with like I would say 100 kids. There's got to be 100 kids in that thing, like all lined up at all the tables. And he gets
yeah.
up, and we're talking like little kids. Like there's people that look like they're like 9, 10, 11 year olds sitting at these tables, like on the other side and everything. And so he gets up to go back to the mess hall, and Jason Alexander reaches over and de- uh, debriefs him, like pulls his pants down, and like his entire ass is hanging out. He like jumps back, like, why the hell did you just do that? And I don't think that was supposed to happen. Like, I think it was like an actual joke that Jason Alexander played on while they were filming, and they kept it in the film.
Really?
Yeah, when you watch
That's
it, you can
hilarious.
see that like he gets the pants, like the pants go down. He jumps, like he pulls back really quickly, and pulls them up, and he gives him this look like, what the fuck, like.
I call that good acting.
This gives also that the campfire vibe because you have the campfires telling the story. Because he basically tells the same story of the opening plot to his fellow counselors, which is kind of
Mm.
odd that it's like his story, but he's telling it as if it was somebody else that it happened to, which was
Your
strange. Like
favorite, the campfire stories.
I do love stories that like or scenes that take place at campfires with people telling the stories. It's my favorite thing about horror films. One of my favorite things. But I found it very odd this time. I didn't catch on to it, but yeah, he's literally telling the story of the opening movie, and it's him. Like he's the one that's responsible for it, and he's basically
Hmm.
telling the other counselors like it's an urban legend.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That the killer becomes like almost like a camp legend, but that's kind of like camp. There's always that thing that is told to you at camp when you're a kid about like, oh, the person who would never like they left their buddy and they never came back. You know what I mean, kind of thing. So
Yeah,
there's
but
always
it
that
would
urban
be
legend.
you would think he would be like another kid at the counselor that happened at, where he didn't know what happened, but that's just what was told to him. So now he's retelling the story to them. But no, he literally is the person responsible for the killer getting burned at the beginning of the movie. But he's telling people like somebody else did this, and once upon a time this happened. And it's very strange when you think about him telling it that way.
He's trying to warn them without giving it away. Maybe he was the killer. I'm joking. No, something I forgot to mention. So this was actually thought of before Friday the 13th, and that's so weird to me. So prior, it kind of pulled like a Critter Gremlins kind of thing, where this film was written and completed. Not, I don't think it was filmed, but it was completed in terms of writing before Friday the 13th was ever written to begin with. So while it becomes I guess it's like a Friday the 13th ripoff, it kind of is it in a way.
Do you remember? This just kind of popped in my head. The guy who plays the killer in The Burning, his name is Lou David. And when conventions were first getting started, where they were announcing all these four different horror movie conventions and different slasher icons were getting announced at these cons, they announced that the killer from The Burning was going to be at one of these conventions. I think it might have been like a horror hound, like one of the first early horror hound conventions. And
Yeah.
Lou David, that's the only movie Lou David had ever been in. And he never was like in any special features on DVDs, and like he wasn't on social medias. And so they announced that he was going to be there. And then this guy, like, I guess he went to the convention, signed autographs, and then like something happened. They were like, that's not Lou David. Like somebody's pretending to be Lou David. And then Lou David came out of the woodwork and was like, dude, I was in the movie, not this guy. And
Are you
then literally
serious?
like and then he started getting announced for the conventions as being the burning character.
They
And
could
it's
put in
this
the
weird
advertisement the
strange
real
thing.
one.
Yeah, he's the real. Do you remember that happening? Do you not
I
remember that?
don't think I remember that. No, that's
Yeah, it
news to
was
me.
like the
I
early
remember Lou
days of
David being at some
conventions.
of the horror hounds, but I don't remember him being the wrong Lou David.
Yeah, it was this whole thing where I guess the somebody was cashing in on like portraying to be Lou David because he wasn't no like nobody knew how to get a hold of him or anything. It wasn't until after that guy did this that Blue David came out of the woodwork and was like, "That's me."
Bro, how do you even get a hold of him? Like, if he doesn't have social media, he's only been in one film. No one knows where he lives,
Yeah,
probably.
no
You
one knew.
know,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? How do you even like begin to say, well, no, I know a guy that knows a guy that directed The Burning, and he has a niece, and his niece somehow knows, Lou David.
yeah. Hey, I don't know. That was. I always thought that was crazy that someone did that.
No, that is crazy. I mean, it's insane how they were able to pull it off.
But yeah, I really
But
like the movie. It has every aspect of a basic stalk and slasher film. It's got what you need. It's got the kill sequences. It's got the nudity that's in it. Um, it's easy to watch. It's very simple, like you said. There's no plot really, but no slasher movie has fucking plot. Um, but it's also a very passable slasher at the same time because the character of the like, or the killer, even though he has like an okay look, it's not great. Like it's not a look of Jason or Freddy or anything. So it's a very passable slasher film in that nature. So
yeah, I
if
was going
I'm
to
going to give
ask
it a
you, what do you? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just going to ask, how do you feel about the killer's look in the murder weapon that was used?
yeah, I like the shears. The shears are a good touch. They're unique. They're different. We don't see that a lot. Um, and like Tom Savini has a good way of showing them. Like when he has them up to the neck when he's like slitting the throat with it, and he does that
Yeah,
effect where like the shears are like cut in half, so he can place it up to the neck and actually move it around on the neck to where it looks like it's slicing through, but it's not really doing anything at all.
I
It's just
wanted
kind
a
of like
scene where there was a tree and the killer gets a rope and ties somebody up and hoists them up on the tree and then prunes the entire tree around them and then continues to prune just straight down on the character. That would have been a good touch.
no, well, there is
We
a
need like a
cool
weird
shot.
gardening backstory.
There is a cool shot where he takes the shears and he stabs one of the victims or one of the counselors, lifts them up, and then walks forward and carries them like 5 or 6 steps and like stabs them into a tree and like leaves them
That
hanging.
is
Yeah,
true.
that was really cool. And I was trying to figure out how they did it, like if the walking thing. Like, did they have a rig put up where the actor was holding onto it as it was moving, like a almost like a zip line type thing, where he's like holding onto it, so you get the shot of the feet off the ground as it's moving with it.
They may
I don't
have,
know
but I
how they
don't think
did
this
it.
had a super high budget, so I don't know how they would have pulled that off. There was I almost forgot what I was gonna say. There was one scene I was trying to talk about, but I lost it. I'll probably get it here in a minute. But no, overall, I do like the shears as well. He should have given a little haircut, I think, to somebody.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
but no, it
but
was
with
good.
that, go ahead. You go ahead and talk about it
Well,
more, then I'll give my rating.
well, no, the only thing I was gonna say is I just feel I do agree with you in terms of like plot not being super thick, but I do think that the concept was there. Like when you talk about just slasher films having a strong basic backstory. Like there's certain like key features and trademarks of a slasher film. And I think if you get some kind of like a legend, they're always, at the very beginning of it, it's always kind of something that happens to somebody that's terrible in the past. They come back for revenge. And this kind of nails that revenge. It did it before a lot of slashers did it in the 80s. Obviously this was right in line with the beginning with Friday the 13th. You've seen I think that what would you say before we give our rating? I want to ask one question to you too. Where do you think the beginning of like modern slasher began? Like what's the film for you that you kind of say like, hey, this is like because I know like the first slasher film is kind of like contested like what was it exactly? But like the slashers that we know like in the 80s and 90s or maybe even late 70s, what was that first film that you kind of like feel like it may have started?
Like what started the actual trend of being like the what we
Like
know
the
as slasher
big
films?
thing. Yeah, like
The Texas
the
Chainsaw Massacre.
me too, yeah. Texas Chainsaw Massacre going into like Halloween, right there in that mid early 70s, stuff started coming out, and I think that I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But
I think Halloween probably did it a little bit easier just because it's that formulaic when Texas Chainsaw Massacre is more because there's so much chaos that happens in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it kind of strives away from the basic stalk and slash.
yeah.
So in Texas Chainsaw, you're going to the killer. And in all other slashers, the killer's coming to you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. So I do think it kind of did that. And Halloween, it just was like one of those films that was so simplistic as a slash, like we don't really know much about Michael, the character. It just becomes one of those things where it's a force of evil, which I know a lot of people's like they talk about how Halloween's like a lazy made film. Like it was like, it was a happy accident because really they were just half-assing the whole thing. They didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have a lot of time. They didn't have a strong story. They really didn't have a killer with a good mask. And it all just like fell into place, like out of like not negligence, but just kind of like fuck it, let's do it kind of attitude. And then you know, that ushered in like what decades of slasher. So I was just wanting to like bring that up kind of too, because the burning kind of was early on. That's kind of like what I'm trying to say here. And you had to give it some extra points because it didn't have time for cliches to catch up to it. It was able to do it independently. It was able to do it before other people duplicated what it done. And I think that you have to kind of give credit to slashers made like very, very early 80s and before, because really they invented what we know as the 80s slasher. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Because
That's
this
just
was
kind of something
done
I
in
want to bring up.
81. So 82 is probably right at the moment when films became the cliche of slasher films.
Mhm.
And it was a trend that they started because it was like 1980 was Friday the 13th. But before
Yes.
that, the closest one was Halloween in 78. So that's a 2 year difference.
Right.
So
Yeah. So I have to always, whenever I score this, I'm going to give it a little extra point or two just because I know they beat a lot of people to it.
yeah, it's
So what
what
would
do
be
you
your
give it?
score? Oh, I'll give it, I have mine at 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. So that's exactly where I'm at. I'm at a 7 out of 10 as well. Mainly because like it's got a cool kill sequence. You memorize or you remember the raft scene the most. All the other kills I didn't really remember until watching it again. Like I knew they were there and kind of had like a thought of them, but was like, oh yeah, they did it that way. But they're nothing special at all until you get to the raft scene. That's the main point of watching the movie is that one scene really. The killer is good, but not 100% memorable. And so with that, you can't give it like a better score without going with controversy into like icons. So
Right.
with that, 7 out of 10 is probably right where it needs to be. And if somebody gives it a 6, I would say that's a good one too. But I'm going to go with
Yeah.
7 because I do recommend this movie to people. I do like the movie. I reference it a lot. Um, I would consider it one of the top slasher films. And if you gave me a list of top 50 or top 100 slasher films, it's in the list.
Yeah, probably definitely top 50. I think it would break that even. Um, just like you said, I do think that it's one of those films though that it's kind of forgettable in a lot of ways, but it's so solid in terms of, I guess, I should say special effects. You know, they got the best to do a lot of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
And so with that, that gives The Burning a total of 14 out of 20.
nice. I think it's a good solid score.
All right.
Write it down.
So the following film that we watched, and you'll see like you were saying, you'll see a trend here coming up, but we'll move right on to my pick if you would like, Tyler. And that
Yep.
is from 1981. It's the same year.
Same year.
The
Beat
Prowler.
him to
The Prowler.
it.
And this one was directed by Joseph Zito, who you would know to go on to direct Friday the 13th, Part 4. But
Dang.
Tyler, do you know who did the effects in The Prowler?
Yes, I do. I'm glad you asked. So
Who's that?
it's Mr. Sexy. That's all I can say. That's what I start calling him. It's Tom Savini. The guy's an ass though, so I don't know what to say. No, honestly, I don't know how to say. He's like one moment sexy, the next minute he's an ass. I went to Pittsburgh, which the guy actually lives, and I was talking to the guy, and they were like, "Yeah, Tom Savini lives around here. I see him all the time. He hikes shirtless with his dog, and he'll just be running randomly around the city, getting his run in." And I'm like, "Oh, that's great. I love Tom Savini's films. I'd love to like say hi to him." They're like, "Yeah, he don't really like being talked to whenever he walks around here." And I'm like, "Really?" And so we get in the car and we're driving, and we turn a corner, and our hotel literally has a gigantic, we're talking like 40 foot by 80 foot long portrait that has been painted of Tom Savini on the side of it.
Yeah, I
And
remember
every
when
single day,
you took like
every
you were
day,
like, "Oh my God, I gotta take this picture." You sent me a text message with that picture, and you're just like, "Look who I found."
right? So, I mean, it was kind of crazy being in the same city as a guy, but just knowing that you could not approach him or else. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I've got a
Tom Savini.
couple stories of Tom Savini too, which we'll probably do an episode based on convention experiences and stuff later on. But yeah, he I had a bad experience with him as well, to say so.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
I think a
so
lot of people do.
the Prowler is set. Well, the opening scene takes place in 19 is it 45? I think it was 1945,
Around there.
and it's a they're having like a homecoming dance slash ball for the kids, for the teenagers, and you find out that a guy who went off to what war was this? Was this World
World
War
War II.
Two? Yeah, World War Two. And I guess while he was gone, his girlfriend hooks up with another person, is at that actual ball, and he comes back. He's got that, well, I don't like can't get my words straight tonight, but
He
post
basically,
PTSD, yeah, like PTSD, like traumatized or whatever from the war,
yeah.
and he comes home, catches his girl with the other guy, and grabs, was it Shears, wasn't it? Wasn't it Shears?
Well, no, so I guess that basically she wrote him like a Dear John letter breaking up with him. He was at the war. He comes back. He sees the two of them together at this dance. And they're out there just like, oh, oh my God, I love you. And he's like pissed off about it. And he just got broke up with. So the fucker gets revenge. I mean, the guy goes out and I think, well, I want to say it was like, wasn't it? He has like he's the one with the pitchfork, right? Because I remember that
Yeah, 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 yeah.
scene. He
Because
very slowly like inserts the pitchfork into both of them. Like first he gets him like that, and then like he like pushes
yeah,
it
yeah.
deeper, and then she's like, "Yeah, that's exact." I remember that scene. But
Yeah, so it turns into the very basic, similar to The Burning, where it's a stalk and slash
yeah,
slasher movie,
but it's
and you
even
never
deeper on
see,
revenge.
yeah, you never like see or never know who the killer is going to be because it's like a red herring type thing. They have like a couple people who you think might be the killer. Back in the early '80s and the '70s, they really wanted to highlight where when somebody was the villain, they wanted you to think that it could be three or four different people, and then all of a sudden they would reveal who it was right at the very end of it. That's one of these movies as well.
I want to say I fucking love The Prowler. I love this film. And there's something about it that he leaves a rose. And there's something about it I thought was stupid and cheesy. But the more I watched the film and it went on, I was like thinking to myself, okay, the guy's pissed off about Rosemary. The rose could be symbolic to like love in general because of rose, like red rose, but also to her specifically. And did it inspire Jigsaw? I don't know. Anyway, um, essentially we have so many different like interesting scenes that I feel like was inspired by even
Did
like
you
back
just
to
fucking compare the Prowler to Saw?
Oh, I'm just saying they're like,
What
well,
the fuck?
they're saying, oh, well, the Jigsaw murderers, you know what I mean? He leaves a jigsaw mark, he leaves a puzzle piece in his victims. I'm like, okay, well, he leaves
Okay,
a
okay,
rose,
okay,
the
okay.
jigsaw, the
I'll give
rose.
you
You see what
that.
I'm saying? All right, fair enough.
I was like, Tyler's
So,
lost his fucking mind.
are you okay, Tyler? I take my mask off and I reveal to be the Prowler. I have my pitchfork and a rose for you. You get a knock on the door. No, but I love that about it. I love the fact that the killer kind of leaves this memento behind. That's really interesting. I will say, remember like how I was talking about The Burning having a very strong concept but a weak plot? This one does the exact opposite. Like I'm in the whole entire time. Like this plot is that it's actually there. Like the plot's not paper thin. Does it drag on in the middle? Yes. There's probably from like the 30-minute mark to closer to the hour mark where I'm like, something probably should be happening here. And it kind of just
Yeah,
drug on there.
they also take a chase sequence that normally in a horror film would last 2 minutes, and this chase sequence lasts like 15 minutes.
That is true. And not terribly a lot happens. And like the basic things like you expect to happen would happen, but it's just it took so long to get to it. But I love these kills. The kills are brutal. We
Very,
have the whole
very brutal.
they're insane. Like I think that honestly, Tom Savini quoted The Prowler as he thinks as one of his best works. And I'm looking back, I'm like, okay, well, the guy has been part of so many major franchises, and obviously, so many slasher films were made. And he still to this day says, "What was your best work, Tom?" He would say The Prowler, he feels like was his best VFX. And I was like, no fucking way. There's no way. You watch the thing, fantastic. There are some and you have to think also this is the '80s, so we weren't as like desensitized in the moment. So I could only imagine how insane it was watching this in theaters back in the '80s when it first came out. Because some of these, there was that one scene like where I want to say wasn't she like scalped or like filleted? You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about? Like just like completely just burned off.
yeah. Well, one of the kills, the shower scene kill. I remember when I was a kid, I watched this video that had a clip of that scene in the movie. It was like I don't know if it was like one of those like documentaries where they just talk about different horror films or whatever, but it
Mhm.
had that clip in it, and I was like, he walks in. It's like a point of view stalk and slash where you see from the killer's point of view going into the shower, and then the shower opens up and it's not the killer, and it kind of distracts you for a second, and then it happens again, and then the shower opens up and it is the killer, and he has the pitchfork, and he takes the pitchfork and he slams it into her stomach, and it goes in. He like picks her up, and you just see it from different angles as she is
Mhm.
like just in the shower with the water pouring down, the blood dripping down. He just continues taking that pitchfork and stabbing it through her, and you feel it. It's a very brutal kill. And I saw that as a kid, just that clip, and I was like, I gotta see this fucking movie. Like, I want to see what else is in this movie. And for the longest time, like as a kid, I couldn't find it anywhere. Like, I didn't know where to get the movie from. Like, I went to a video store to rent it, didn't have it, couldn't watch it. So it was
Don't you
like
hate
when I
that?
And then when I became a teenager, because I think I probably saw that clip when I was like maybe 10 years old, 11 years old. And I didn't get to watch it till I was like 16 or 17. And I finally watched it. I was like, this movie has some great kills in it. Very brutal. Like the scene where he oh, I can't even think of what he like hangs the guy or like, chokes him and he like the eyes turn white as he's being choked.
Oh, yes.
And he's got like the knife is going through the head and you feel it hit the head. You feel like it's pain, the blood's dripping down, and it cuts, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be a 1 or 2 second shot, and then done. But no, it like shows his hand, shows the knife, shows back to his face, shows the eyes turning white, then it shows the gloves, and it shows the knife going back in again. It's just it goes on forever. It feels like, even though it's probably like maybe 10, 15 seconds, and it feels longer because it's so brutal of a kill. And that's what like the movie's known for, is just how violent and how just creative the kills are.
And I
Although
was surprised by how like violent it was. And that's what you just described was my favorite kill. Um, there was something about the eyes changing that almost felt supernatural in a way. It was weird. I don't know. It kind of gave this
yeah,
like
it's
a
like
different vibe.
it was like when he kills him, like the soul like came out of him, like in the white eyes, like was the soul leaving. Like I don't know, it felt I got that same feeling too whenever you mentioned it.
Yeah, it's like almost like a supernatural vibe. It's so weird, and I think that it's
Yeah.
super, super brutal. I love that scene. And honestly, you mentioned the shower scene. The shower scene comes back several times in the film. Every time, it kind of like it's startling. It's kind of like almost like Psycho-esque. You know what I mean? It has that kind of
Yeah.
the vibe.
And
And you even have like
it's
the friend
got
that comes in. She's like, "I'm over here. Don't I'm changing? Don't come out." That whole kind of like setup, and you're like on the edge of your seat because you just know they play that so well, and it's so well done.
Yeah. There's one kill scene that is absolutely ridiculous though. It doesn't make any sense. I didn't like it, but it didn't bother me much. But it's also like in the trailer, what the trailer's known for.
Yeah.
The scene, like the pool scene, when the teacher gets killed in the pool, and so or not the teacher, sorry, the student gets killed in the pool just before the teacher goes to look for her, and
Yeah.
she's swimming around the pool. She sees the killer, and or well, she does. Well, I don't know, really sees him, but I guess she starts to get out. That she looks up, the killer's there, and he kicks her in the head and like knocks her in the water. And she's like looking around the pool, like where's the killer at? Where's the killer at? And she can't find him anywhere. She's like, where? So she's like swimming around, looking around, and then she starts to get out, and then all of a sudden the killer comes up from the water. It's like you would have saw like this is a lighted pool. There's lights everywhere on this pool. There's no way you could not have seen him in the pool or heard
I
him in the
kind of
pool.
I agree with you on one side, but on the same end, I'm like, it is kind of like very 80s slasher-esque. You have to have, I mean, like you have to have a dude in the pool coming out or water of some kind. I'm surprised it wasn't a lake.
That
You know what I
that's why,
mean?
yeah. But that's why I'm saying like it doesn't bother me. It doesn't make any sense that it happened, but it doesn't bother me because you like it. It's a cool little moment. And whenever he kicks her
Yes.
in the face, it feels real, like it looked real. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out that it didn't make any sense. Like we would clearly be seeing.
Well, if it tells you anything, I'm not a big fan of like military style, like villain. I don't know, like there's something about having like a military outfit on or something that's not kind of takes me out of it because I'm like I'm not really big in like period like slasher, I guess you would say. So it says a lot whenever I say I absolutely love the killer in this. And I think that they did it so well. They executed it so perfectly because the general concept of the film being like, okay, well, the guy got rejected by this girl and they canceled that dance after the murder. And then here we are, what, like 40 years later or 30 years later, and they're having a dance again. They're trying to do that same exact thing. The killer comes back for revenge. And the military outfit that the killer uses and the murder weapon, it just aligns so well with each kill. It felt like it was calculated. I love the
Yeah.
idea of how they were inside and they were enjoying the dance, and they were like, "Guys, well, that's actually that one scene where you were talking about the pool and it was kind of annoying to you. The one thing that was annoying to me about this was whenever they announced to the kids, they were like, "Guys, we got a prowler outside. Don't go outside, anyone," kind of thing. I'm like, so
Yeah.
is anybody gonna call the police? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, they say it several times too. They're like, there's a prowler outside. What is it? What's happening? There's a guy prowling around outside.
Maybe we should go. Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Um, but the uh the look of the killer, like I think it works because that opening scene where it takes place in the 40s. And I don't know about you, but the atmosphere did feel like time period. It did feel like the 40s, like with everything, the look of everything. And
Yes.
so that the look of the killer in that timeline made it believable. So where when it jumps to the 80s, 35 years later, it still fits and takes place because you still have that same tone going with
It was filmed in this like weird like haze almost. It was very
it. And
misty.
yeah, and we were talking about the kills. There's toward the end of it, I've seen the movie several times, and this shocked me this time. It's been a while since I've seen it, and I was actually legitimately shocked. I was like, oh man, that caught me off guard. So at the end of the movie, when they're having another chase sequence again, because you have a chase sequence, like I told you, like the 15-minute chase sequence that doesn't resolve to anything whatsoever. Um, and then like they go back to the house again, and then they have another chase sequence, like the exact same house, like the exact same style, which results into the killer being killed. But the hero, the villain, is that weird guy from the grocery store, well, almost hero, that comes in like he's really rude and weird and mean at the grocery store, and he comes back and he kills the killer, shoots the killer, and then he gives this weird like smile. He
Yes,
has this
I
weird.
love that. I kind of like that. I'm like, oh, he's like a nice little guy. I
It's
never
weird.
understood like when they were running from the Prowler at one point, and the guy in the wheelchair just like grabs her, and she's like, please, please let me go, please. And he's like, you know what I'm talking about? He's like holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it.
But it catches me off guard, or it caught me off guard this time around because when when they're at the after the hero comes in from the grocery store and shoots the killer, and the killer's laying there, you think he's dead, and you're like, oh, he just saved the day. Some random guy just saved the day. He's been shot. He's dead. And then
Mhm.
out of nowhere, the shotgun rises up, real quick shot, boom, shoots him in the chest, and like his chest like explodes backwards against the wall. And it's so quick that it catches me off guard. And that's what it did to me. I was shocked. I was like, oh, he's not dead. Shit. Like, forgot all about it. Completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I just remember. What about that fucking guy that is in that he's like the cabin, like the hotel clerk that the police officer calls to get the sheriff on the line, and he's like at the desk, and he answers. He's like, "Hello." He's like, "Hey, this is an emergency. I need you to go get the sheriff." He's like, "Well, hang on a second," and he just starts chewing tobacco. He's like, makes it
Yes.
look like he's walking out. Like that is the most unnecessary scene, and it's drug out for like 5 minutes. Like
Right?
it's not needed at all. Like you could take that entire scene out whatsoever. But the fact that this guy has zero care, he's like the nicest, rudest person in the world. Like he has zero care for anything in the
Well,
world
he put his
and
customer
no
service
hurry.
voice on, and he took the customer service voice and said, "Hey, we're here to help. 1 second, please."
Yeah, even to the point where he's so annoyed by it, he's like mocking them over the phone, and then he's like,
Yeah.
"You have a good day too. Bye." It's like so strange. Like I forgot that was even in the movie, but it's not
There's
needed at
always
all.
the quintessential like random person that's in these horror movies from the 80s. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? Like there's always like the one that it's kind of like an unnecessary character they throw in there and they always have that one scene. You know what I'm talking about? There's always that
Yeah,
one guy. That was it. That was the guy. Maybe like the director was like, I really get pissed off whenever customer service people just don't give me, the answer or whatever, don't help out, and then he just wanted to like duplicate it or something.
yeah. I think what makes it feel so long is the camera holds on him at the table while he goes over everything,
Hmm.
and it makes it feel longer because you're just sitting there stationary with the guy. It's funny. I liked it. I'm glad they kept it in there. Like it doesn't need it at all, but it's funny.
Yeah, I love I think that they ended it really really well as well. I think that having the shower scene where was it the at the very very end where the guy wakes back. I'm trying to think of the guy. I'm trying to think of the character's name, so I'm losing it. But the main like the guy comes back to
I think his
life,
name's
and then
the killer. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, comes back to life. I love that scene. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, like I say,
So
like that shot when he when he comes back to life and um he pulls the shotgun out and shoots the guy. Like I love, like it caught me off guard. I couldn't remember that happened, and I loved that scene. Like it was a great kill scene too.
It's Rosemary's the girl, but who was the guy that she broke up with? What was his character's name? I'm trying to find that. That's gonna drive me. Did he have a name?
The Prowler.
They just call him the Prowler?
I don't I don't
I don't
remember.
know. I really don't know if that character had a name. It's gonna drive me crazy now. I'm I'm looking at the character list. No, I don't see. Writes a letter to her boyfriend is all it says. So yeah, I guess the guy doesn't have a name. Just a Prowler. But that one scene, so one thing they did that broke the fourth wall is the main killer, the Prowler, whenever he says, like, I'm here for our date, Rosemary. You know what I'm talking about? I love that. It's like chilling almost because you don't expect him to talk. And I think the moment where he delivers that line, you get it comes full circle at that moment because you get the beginning of the film where we still we see him being heartbroken. He murders, he leaves the rose, comes back and he's like trying to basically the same dance that wronged him before. He's picking off these people one by one, leaving that same rose, and then you kind of get this thing where he's like all along he just wanted his date. I mean, he wanted to have a date with his girl. You know what I mean? And I think that
Yeah,
honestly that speaks volumes. I think that that's kind of I mean, call me crazy. I think it's a good plot. I think it's a really good plot for a slasher.
yeah, and I don't know if you know this or not, Tyler, but the killer is kind of inspired Biohazard.
No way.
Yeah. So
No
the
way.
killer from Prowler and My Bloody Valentine is the main inspiration of what I wanted for the killer to be in Biohazard. So I was trying to figure out a way to get that look and that, the breathing, atmosphere you get with a killer point of view. And just so if you watch this movie and you watch My Bloody Valentine, they both have the aspects of that with like the gas mask, the coal miner mask or whatever that the guy's wearing. And you get the atmosphere of that point of view with the breathing apparatus, the sound effect and everything. And that's what inspired me to do Biohazard. So just wanted you to
Nice.
know that.
No, I did not know that at all. It's kind of cool. Honestly though, I think it's kind of like my Bloody Valentine. I think is the most similar film that you can compare to the Prowler. I don't know if one of them necessarily does it better. And I mean, shoot me if I'm wrong here, but I'm thinking that the Prowler almost contends with My Bloody Valentine. I think I actually gave them the same score.
Wasn't it
That's
an
how much I
81
liked
film
it.
as well?
Was it? My Bloody Valentine was hell yeah, it was 1981.
Crazy. There's so many good movies that came out in 81.
I know.
That's a crazy
I
year.
didn't. I didn't realize there were so many like major films that was released that we talk about today in '81. But the thing is that they couldn't have taken inspiration off of each other because they're made the same year, unless they were made at the beginning and end. But that's not the case. They were made like 3 months apart.
Yeah,
So
and My Bloody
honestly,
Valentine was a Canadian made production. So
mhm,
yeah, they that's kind of strange that they did that. I guess this is coincidence. Weird coincidence.
yeah. But do you feel like it's a contender like right up there with My Bloody Valentine, or do you think that My Bloody
Oh yeah, yeah,
Valentine's
definitely.
majorly better? I think that the Prowler is the
I
effects
think
honestly are kind of borderline better.
the effects are better, but the characters you have with My Bloody Valentine are more likable and more enjoyable, like enjoyable to watch.
I
Um,
agree.
so and then plus you have that atmosphere of the mine, the coal miner, like in the coal mines, and
Mhm.
then it takes place on a holiday, so you can always watch it on a holiday. The Prowler is this one-off thing where there's no holiday surrounded by it. Um, it was also like a slasher movie that wasn't really available a lot, so not as many
Right.
people had seen it. So yeah, I think the effects are a lot better, but characters, the My Bloody Valentine has a better range of characters.
Why do I feel like the Prowler can almost like be watched on Valentine's Day as well? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, with the rose, like yeah, Yeah,
right?
you're right.
Because it's a love story in a way. So that's kind of good. I don't know. Nice little double feature. I gave this one a 7.
Okay. I actually give this one an 8,
No way.
mainly because like you have the killer in this one is a little bit better than what the killer is in The Burning,
Hmm.
and the effects are 10 times better in this movie than The Burning.
That is true. And like I said, like we talked about before, it's Tom Savini is considering that his best work. So honestly, the effects are a little bit better. I will say the reason that they're on the same playing field for me is that the Prowler had a super strong plot that sometimes was lagging and kind of went down in terms of concept, but then the Burning has a strong concept and a weak plot. So they both kind of like seem like they leveled out, but in a way, I would say like the Prowler is a stronger 7, closer to an 8 than what the Burning was. I like the Prowler just a little bit better. And I just think I like the idea of the killer, the backstory of the killer on this one's a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And with that, that gives us 15 out of 20.
Nice. So it's beating out the Burning.
Yep. All right.
All right, so that brings us here to our last film, and most likely one that I really want to include because it really has a completely different vibe and tone from these other two films, but somehow it's still connected. I'll talk about that in a minute. But we got we have Nightmare on Elm Street 3, baby.
And before
And
we jump into it, I want to say that I'm so happy that the Prowler got a higher score than the Burning because
yes,
Mike's ass decided not to do this tonight and he lost. So, yeah.
dang, yeah, that is true. That is true. But this film, I have a feeling that we have similar opinions on. I hope. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to ask you your opinion on this film or not. But Nightmare on Elm Street 3, while it's not my favorite of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, I think that this one was extremely important to include because if you look at it, it kind of, when you think about like horror icon villain, this is the one that kind of defined Freddy Krueger for me. If you look at it, the very first movie, you kind of see a more serious kind of version of him. Second film, you kind of get one that's they lose their way in a way. I do have a soft spot for the second one, but the third one, you kind of get that comedy aspect of Freddy Krueger that I really, really love. So, and they have a kick-ass '80s song. Like, what else could you want? You know what I mean? So at the end of the
Yes.
day, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, I think was a super solid pick to include in this because it really, I think that it's kind of where the series kind of found its way. And essentially, if everybody's familiar, I think with the story, but basically we have a young Patricia Arquette. She does a fantastic job, and she's essentially being plagued. She's like the final kids of Elm Street. She's being plagued by a dream. She finds out she has a super kind of like power that other kids at Elm Street didn't have. Allows kind of Freddy to control dreams, like she can control the dreams and bring people in. And then we have Heather Langenkamp coming back to play Nancy, but this time she's a psychiatrist. And I really think that this film had a lot of things about it that really just work perfectly. So you have the aspect of Freddy kind of not being a super villain. You almost kind of root for him in a way. Like, I mean, I at times I think people really forget Freddy's the bad guy here. We're not rooting for him because there's a lot to him that I just absolutely love in this. It's one of the very, very first rated R kind of like horror films I was able to watch, so I do have a soft spot for it. Um, kind of curious, what do you think about this one, Chris, in terms of
Well,
the Elm Street franchise?
yeah, I would say we got to jump into the franchise with this a little bit because I
Yeah,
know you're higher up with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise than what I am. Like if you had a core three of slasher film franchises, it's Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Halloween. And everybody looks at those in different ways. So
right.
for me personally, the Nightmare on Elm Street series is the third of those. I think it goes Friday the 13th, Halloween, and then Nightmare on Elm Street. And I grew up more with the Friday the 13th films and the Halloween films than I did with Nightmare on Elm Street. And you started off with Nightmare on Elm Street, so that's why yours is looked at a different point of view, because yours is like Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And but when you really look at it, if you have a franchise, you have to base each film completely separate as a film. You can't just say this one's not good because it's in a bad franchise, or this one's really good because it's in a good franchise. Like, it's each one is completely different. This movie in particular, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, has a lot of stuff going for it. It also has a lot of negative going for it too. But I'm not going to focus on the negative because I really like this movie. And
Same.
I think it is probably the best and most entertaining of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I really like 1, 2, like it's different, but I really like the Freddy in Part 2 because it is very dark, and I like that difference that they have from 1 to 3. You know, they have that in between with him being really dark. But this is the
Yes.
movie that started Catchphrase Freddy, where he had one-liners during each death scene. In particular, the scene that you sent me a text message earlier with the GIF on there when it was like, "Welcome to prime time, bitch."
Yeah.
Um, he always had something funny or sarcastic to say during each one of the kills. And the reason why I bring that up is because it kind of makes the character go downhill in the later series, like the later franchise entries, because it made more of like, they were like, oh, we got to find ways to have comical Freddy. Now everything's funny. The series isn't taken as serious now because everything is joking and everything's funny and over the top. And that started with this movie. Now, not to say that this movie is comical in any way. Yeah, there's some funny over the top moments in it, but what it did for the franchise, I think, even though it's one of the best, it also really hurt the franchise, in my opinion.
I don't know, man. It's like one of those things where something I want to say, first of all, something I love about Nightmare on Elm Street is that each film kind of has its own individual vibe. And there's so many like different changes to the characters and the plot throughout that it's always giving something new. And Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was one of those films that almost didn't happen. Like, it was the second film was a flop. Everybody hated it. Um, we get Nightmare on Elm Street, which was coming out and getting really good praise. Wes Craven was literally dominating at that point. That was the beginning of his career, really. And we just kind of had like I think that, like, what that landed in Beetlejuice, and that for some reason didn't even work out. Like, Wes Craven was supposed to direct Beetlejuice at one point. So the guy's like doing a great job here. The second film just ruined the whole entire thing, but I have a soft spot for it. I think it's a different vibe. And then you get the third film, which basically was given the idea. So I remember I was actually watching a bonus feature. This has been a couple years ago. I rewatched it for this as I remember that bonus feature. Wes Craven had this idea saying, in the very first Nightmare on Elm Street, it was dark because the kids were in it by themselves. They were fighting the darkness alone. And then in the third film, we kind of where it's kind of in a psychiatric hospital, we have them in together. And it got a lot of pushback, I guess, because the suicidal kind of nature of the film. Like, there is a scene where Patricia Arquette's character, they make it like look like she had slit her wrist, is what I was trying to say. And that kind of was something really crazy to show at the time. But later on in the series, we get like things like New Nightmare, which, like you said, it embraces kind of like comical, self-aware Freddy in the real world, and not in like some kind of like a different kind of like storyline, or I guess you would say timeline. So I do like how diverse Elm Street is, and I don't know, I kind of like the idea of having Freddy being one of those. I think that his one-liners make him individually unique. Like, you have backstories to all these characters, right? But with, like, I guess you'd say like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, they each don't really have a voice. So I'm not saying it's a good thing that Freddy talks or anything, but I'm thinking that the fact that it's it's really not the same style of film. It almost goes into this like imaginative type of horror that's not even on the same playing ground as, dare I say, slasher. Like, it's a slasher film that feels like more than just a slasher. it doesn't have your typical stalk and slash kind of thing going for it. There's a lot more depth and really like you said, like a lot of comedy. I know it's definitely not for everyone, and I think that the direction that they chose sometimes was a little bit risky. I think the risk did pay off. I mean, by
Yeah. Well,
far,
don't get me wrong though. I'm not saying that I don't like it. Like I really love this movie. I think I mean, I watch this all the time. It's a great entry in the franchise. I really, and like I said, it's my favorite entry in the entire Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Um, I
I'm a
just
sucker for
feel
one.
that I just wanted to point that out, that those are some reasons why some people could not like it, is because of that. And I think you can't talk about Nightmare on Elm Street without talking about the impact that it had with later episodes, because it
Mhm.
was it is considered, like, by most people, the highlight of the series.
It is, and I think it's because you talk about defining the idea of what a like I guess you would say like what a slasher like killer is. What does the villain look like? And I think that Freddy Krueger was kind of the one that clearly defined like, hey, look, this is who he is. So you had the first movie that had a different version of Freddy, the second film which went a different direction, the third film which went a vastly different direction toward more like a one-liner comedy. You see Freddy Krueger like begin like talking more and I don't know, like it's just overall a tonal difference. And I think that it's one of those things where that shift really helped the series continue on longer. And I think that it kind of invented an icon. Like I don't know if we'd have Freddy today without. I remember didn't like Fangoria have something like where you could call into Freddy and he would like
One
say
eight
like a one
one
liner.
900 Freddy or something. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
like they used to they like had so much marketing. There's so many things you could buy back in like the 80s and 90s, Freddy Krueger related. Then they had like a Freddy workout. I don't know. There was all kinds of like crazy
So
things you could buy.
this was uh this was 87, right?
This was 87.
87. So this was the year that I was born. So I was born the same year that this movie was released, which makes me feel freaking old.
I feel that.
But there, I want to know what the hell is wrong with John Saxon's character in this movie. He's a dick in this thing.
There always
Like
has to be
it's
the
a
one.
like it's a 180 spin from the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, because he's like a protective father. He's a sheriff. He has that kind of authority figure and like sternness to him in the first movie, but he's not an asshole.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, he turns into an asshole. He's like he's on duty. He's at, he's in his uniform. He's still a sheriff, and he's drunk at the bar while working. Um, hasn't talked to his daughter in a long time. Um, won't help out. Refuses to help out. Has to be forced to help out. Once they actually do have him help out, he doesn't want to continue on with it. It's almost like he's a coward and an asshole at the same time.
Yeah. Something interesting about it. Maybe I think this might have been why. So Bruce Wagner and Frank Darabont joined Wes Craven in writing this, and I know that Bruce and Frank both admitted to not ever seeing A Nightmare on Elm Street or number two before they wrote the third one. And they approached Wes. I'm not kidding. And they approached Wes Craven with the idea of a movie that was not even A Nightmare on Elm Street, and they were like, "We want to cancel the series because Nightmare on Elm Street 2 went so poorly for them." They were like, "We're done. No more Nightmare on Elm Streets. We're done." And they kind of pulled like a Halloween 3 with like
That
Nightmare on Elm Street 2. They're like, "Let's bring back Freddy the way he was before, but change it." And they had this treatment for this movie called like something about like sleeping. I don't know. And then Wes Craven met up with them, and they took their script and his script, and they redid the entire thing and created Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Yeah, I completely forgot that Frank Darabont is, attached to this movie. For some weird reason, I always forget that he's the one behind this one. Um,
Yes,
which is very strange because you know him from like the Shawshank Redemption, the Green Mile,
Green
like some of the
Mile.
best movies like ever made. And then he did Nightmare on Elm Street Part Three.
But the dude never watched Nightmare on Elm Street before. He literally just
That's
came
fucking
in.
crazy. Like, what
They just
balls do you have to be like, I've never seen it. Can I have the third one? Sure. What?
they brought Wes, and that was enough for them. No, but and he also wasn't Chuck Russell was the director, and I fucking love the Blob. I mean, I have a thing for the Blob. We need to talk about that one day here.
Yeah,
But
yeah, Chuck
that's
Russell. Yeah,
that was like followed up by this, and I really really love that film. But I mean, it's kind of a weird choice because at this point, like Chuck Russell never really had directed anything crazy. Frank Darabont really didn't have anything crazy in his shops either. It's just one of those things where I guess that I don't know if they just don't want to spend the money on people. I don't know exactly what it was,
but
but
could you imagine though? Could you imagine of going into a pitch meeting and being like, I have this idea I want to write it and I'm going to produce it. And then the director being like, what'd you think of the first one? I never seen it. Like, what?
right? I mean, he was available.
That's crazy shit right there, man. That's crazy.
Uh,
And it's a studio film too, on banking on a
Major.
company, New Line Cinema, that I mean, they call themselves the house that Freddie built. Like Nightmare on Elm Street made their studio like what it was. Like they were just a
Mm.
very low budget studio that was probably on the brink of going down before they had the hit classic of Nightmare on Elm Street. So the fact that you're giving your baby to someone who had never seen the films a chance at making that film, like that's fucking crazy. Like I never really put that in perspective. Like it's really crazy.
Right? Well, I mean, evidently there's that, and then we also have, I guess I don't know if this was intentional or not, but Kristen's you know that scene where Kristen's in her bed and Freddy cuts off the head of her mom and he's holding it there. It
Yeah.
Kristen literally pulls martial arts, MMA style fighter moves and like attacks Freddy Krueger. I was like, was that in the script? I want to know, did they sit down and write that she has like MMA style fighting against Freddy Krueger at that scene? Because I every time I see it, I'm like, I'm taken back by it. I just can't believe they showed it like that. It's hilarious.
Yeah. It's like, I said, where's the fucking bourbon? Like that's so funny. Oh, but you mentioned that. So every one of the characters in their dream world has a special ability, which is really cool idea that you can do that. Like you're able to have, the guy in the wheelchair in dreams, there's no limitations. You can do whatever you want to. So what better
Right.
way to be able to fight Freddy Krueger than to be like, well, if he can do anything in the dream, so can I, because it's in my dream, which is really
Mm.
cool. But when they introduced that, I laughed at this time around. I didn't even think of it before, but watching it this time, they introduced each one of the characters with their special abilities. Like you have, I can't remember character names, but the guy that's the real strong guy. He's like, in my dreams, I'm strong. He like bends the chair, and then
Yeah.
the one girl is like, in my dreams, I'm bad, and it's like she has like the knives and everything. And
Mm.
then you have the guy who stands up from the wheelchair who can walk, and then it
My favorite.
cuts to Kristen's character, and she's like, in my dreams, I can do this, and she runs and does like a like cartwheel. It's like really you can do the one thing that you can do in normal
Yes.
life. Like I don't know, like, it's just really funny to me. And that she has really no special ability besides just like tumbling. Like it was weird.
I know, right? I do love her character so much. I think Patricia Arquette does a killer job there. What's your favorite? What was your favorite kill in the film?
I am very biased with this kill. We talked about it a while ago briefly, but it's the welcome to prime time bitch moment when he pulls the girl's head into the TV. But I'm biased on this because the movie that is playing on the TV just before she dies is Critters. So the fact that they're playing my favorite movie of all time just before the death, it makes me biased on there because you know how I feel about that movie.
Oh yeah,
Outside of that one, I really like the scene where the one of the first deaths in the movie where the guy falls asleep and Freddy slits his wrists and his ankles and is like puppeteering him through
you
the
like the
hallway.
marionette puppets?
Yeah, yeah, I really like that sequence. Just because like how brutal it looks, like with the veins coming, as it's the veins that he's using for the marionette ropes, which makes it kind of gross, disgusting, and horrific at the same time. Um, and you see like the blood drips down the hallway as he's walking through. But I really love that sequence and that particular death scene, just because of that. Like you see the slices happening, pulling up. I like it a lot. That's probably my favorite one of the entire film, besides the prime time.
Primetime Bitch was great. I love both of those two, but one that I remember as a kid always is the one where Joey is his name. Joey is on the bed and starts making out hardcore, and then he like starts casting out his tongue. Freddy does, and like ropes him down, and then like the
Yeah, he doesn't
bowels of
die
like
though.
hell opens up. Right? Yeah, that is true. But I just love the one liner. I guess you would say I love when it was just like tongue tied. I don't know. I just remember that as a kid. It always scared me because of like the image below him always freaked me out. So I
Yeah,
always I
if
always see it like that.
if you think about it, Freddy Krueger is the one kissing him.
Hell yeah.
But this one
And
also introduces a really cool like like the old school stop motion like Ray Harryhausen stop motion feature or stop motion
yeah,
puppetry. They do
right.
that several times in this movie too. Like you have that marionette sequence where he's doing that, but there's the Freddy doll. Like there's like a marionette Freddy doll that comes up, and it's like stop motion. And it's the one that like grows bigger and then is the one that slices him in to do the marionette stuff.
Mhm.
And then later on toward the end of the film, you get the Army of Darkness deal with like the Ray Harryhausen effect where it's like the bones, the skeleton is of Freddy is like fighting um, John Saxon and I don't know the guy's name. I can't remember. It was not Kyle. Whatever the name.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
Doctor something. Um, and it's just like the stop motion feature. And it's dated. You can tell how outdated the effect is. But I was laughing because Freddy is fighting him, and after he thinks he won, he drops the shovel and he like lifts his arms in victory. He's like, yeah, and then disappears back to like the dream world. It
Yeah.
was very, very funny.
Yeah. I honestly my rankings though, I think that I do like the first Freddy the best. It's probably my favorite one's the original Nightmare on Elm Street. This one's probably second for me though, honestly. But like you said, it's definitely one of my favorite series, and that I wanted to include it on this list because it just felt like something that was kind of important to the 80s in terms of like defining a true like horror icon. And that's kind of like why I included it on here because it's crazy to think like how almost it happened. Like, we almost lost Michael Myers at one point. I think did Friday the 13th ever get canceled?
It
Like
was after
officially,
part eight. Yeah,
so they went all the way through theirs before that happened.
yeah, they went
So
through all the way up to 89 because they were making one after another. Now, part four was supposed to be the last one, like they were supposed to be not wanting to do
yeah,
anymore, but it made so much money that they had to bring it back. Um, and it was a year later. It's like there's no time. It was almost like the studio was like, no more. But
yeah,
but um, but yeah, it was the probably the only one of the main three franchises that really almost didn't happen.
yeah. And I mean, it was canceled so many times, but I know that. So Wes Craven had the third one was actually going to be New Nightmare originally, and he pitched the idea to the studio of New Nightmare, and they said no. They said that they would absolutely just not make another film. That's what it was going to be. They didn't like the self awareness of it, and I think it kind of fell into place perfectly because we most likely would not have had Freddy the way that we have him now. I honestly think that the morphing in like the third film of Freddy becoming more comical was almost intentional because in New Nightmare, Freddy's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like it's all kind of like becoming more parody, not really parody, but how would you describe? I don't know exactly what you would say. It's almost parodying itself in a weird way. So I really don't think that we would have had it the way it shook out to be without this film. So I think that's why it's so important. And I really, like I said, I think Patricia Arquette's absolutely fantastic in it. I think the kills are a lot of fun in it. Obviously, like I mean, we can't really even describe like in these films we've kind of talked a lot about the killer, but everybody listening knows Freddy. I mean, it's just the idea of the glove. I think is so cool. His origin story of being wronged by a family, not a family, but a bunch of people that later on ended up he ended up stalking their children. I think that's just like a really cool concept overall. Like being, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and this one introduces the backstory even further, where it talks about how
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger was conceived. Like they were like, oh, it's the mother was Sister Mary something, Mary Helena, and she was in the
Mhm.
prison guard and she was raped by 100 madmen in the prison guard, and that's how Freddy was conceived, and that's why he was so evil. And then it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but at the same time, it's just silly backstory to
I
make him
hate that
more
backstory
sinister.
too. I
Yeah,
wish we didn't
it's
get the
dumb.
backstory.
The main doctor, when he's talking to Sister Helena, like at the cemetery, and she's like talking back to him, and then Heather Langenkamp comes up and he's like, "Hey, who are you talking to?" He turns around, he's like, "Pardon me." He said, "Oh, she was just here." That I don't know why, but that acting was like, I think it's the worst acting we've seen out of all three slasher movies, and that was that guy in as the doctor.
I would agree, honestly. I really would agree. Besides the one guy you mentioned that took the phone call on customer service, those are the two.
Yeah,
Those are the top two for me.
but it was almost like he's a bad actor, but he's charming, so you like
Mm.
him. Yeah. So if that guy from The Burning, the cabin owner rental guy, and this guy was in the same movie, it would be like pure bliss.
You know what? Honestly, it'd probably work because they've never seen each other's movies. So that way they can get together and just make up the shit that happened in between. Bridge
Yeah,
the gap.
a nightmare on Prowler Street.
And well, one thing I too before I forget, I want to mention also that this is connected to, let me find this. Let me make sure I'm getting my fact right here. So the two films we talked about before, The Burning and The Prowler, was connected by Tom Savini, and then Jack Shoulder was the editor to the films, which also had worked on A Nightmare on Elm Street. So technically, they're all related.
Yeah, because Jack Shorter did what, Nightmare on Elm Street Part Two?
Yeah, I think he even
Yeah,
had involvement in another one too.
and then he edited The Prowler and The Burning, right?
Yeah, but he did several. I'm trying to figure out. He did the yes, and then he also did Alone in the Dark right after, which I love Alone in the Dark.
Which is connected to Halloween because it's got Donald Pleasance in it.
Dang, see, they're
We're
all
playing the
just
six
one.
degrees of
They're all just
six degrees of
e-
slasher icons.
every slasher in the '80s is related somehow. Honestly, they kind of are in a way.
Yeah.
So, but overall, man, I think that I would give my highest score to A Nightmare on Elm Street, and then right behind that would be Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I would probably go like I haven't even rated this officially in my head, but I would honestly give it like an 8 out of 10.
I thought you were going to go higher than that. I thought you were going to give us a 10.
It's an 8 out of 10. The original one gets a 10. The original film to me is a 10 out of 10. I
So even
agree
though
with
that,
you though. I kind of like think that the while I love the comedic one-liner Freddy in the third one, there's something about the first film that works so perfectly and orchestrated exactly what it needed to that it's a perfect film. It's very close to a perfect film. I would have to give it like literally a 10 or a 9.5 out of 10. And then the third one has such strong ideas in it that I love it just as much. But it just doesn't quite hold up like the first one does in that aspect. So I have to give it like an 8 out of 10.
yeah. So this one does have that music video and music conceived by Dokken for Dream Warriors, which is a classic song that you can hear and love to listen to, reminisce about Nightmare on Elm Street. The movie introduces the factor of the drug to suppress dreams, which was oh my gosh, what was the name of it? Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of the drug.
I can't think of it either now.
Oh my gosh, what is it called? Hydra.
I just watched this film.
I know, I just watched it too, and I can't think of it.
Let me
But
see if I
it's
have.
the drug suppressant that they introduced to it, which is kind of cool
Yes.
that they actually use that hypnosil. There we go. Hypnosil.
Is
That
that
they
what it
introduced
was?
that, yeah, and they reference it and bring that back into the later, the later movies as well. Because when you go into part four, they use that plot where it's like the town hasn't had any dreams for a while, like you got or uh, Freddy versus Jason, when like the town doesn't have any dreams anymore, so the Freddy doesn't exist anymore because of it. I think it's cool that they kind of introduced that early on, and that was part three that they did this. Which it's weird that part three introduced this. Part three, Friday the 13th, introduced the mask. Halloween three introduced something different. It's like the threes are always something weird when it comes to like a franchise.
Yeah.
But I do really like this one. I love the kill sequence. I love the characters and how each character
Why is
has
it
their own
going on?
abilities. For why do you thumbs me down? What the fuck?
You want to know what's scary? I didn't do it. That's so weird. Okay, that's spooky.
It's Freddy. Did you fall asleep?
No, that's kind of
I
freaky. Are
I
we on
like how we
host?
can. Yeah. I like how the movie does introduce where like the characters have their own abilities to attack and kill Freddy. They give Kristen the ability. What is a one way we can have a movie where we don't have to worry about each individual person having a dream? Give her the ability to pull people into her dreams so that all of them are there in one dream together. I like that. That's really cool. Um, doesn't make a lot of sense that she can pull somebody into her dream who isn't yet asleep. that was that was
Yeah, that's
weird.
always been something. I never really, I think I just always accepted it though. I never was like questioning it.
Yeah, because like Nancy is like sitting there reading a book, and she just hears Kristen's voice. She's like, Nancy. She's like, huh? Oh. It's like what? What? Okay, cool. We'll go with it. It's not right now. For anything can happen. It's a dream world.
Yeah. I love the first introduction whenever she's like, one, two, ready. And then everybody's like looking at her like trying to like give her like calm her down or give her sedation. And she's like, Brady's got you again or whatever at the end. And then she was like, how do you know that song? And I'm like, this is it. This is it. I love it.
Yeah, I like that moment too.
Yeah, it's a great moment. There's just so much. I mean, really, Nightmare on Elm Street, I think, is iconic for a reason. It's not. I think, like you said, it's definitely my favorite of the three big. But I mean, I'm an Evil Dead boy. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I love Evil Dead, so it doesn't quite
I
hit
want
that
to
range. But
I want to know how. So, 84 was the first Nightmare on Elm Street. 85 was part two, and then 87 was part three. So that's a 3 year difference. How the fuck did Nancy graduate high school, become a doctor in
when I think
3 years?
I think she was an intern because she wasn't because the doctors were all in there like surrounding her, and then they were like she came on kind of like somebody that was new to the firm. So that it was either A, that she was an intern, or B, it implied that she was like freshly graduated. And then they kind of just put her on I think they just kind of trusted her more later on because like the experiences, or maybe she just took it upon herself to kind of take over. But it's kind of crazy.
Maybe. But with that though, like I said, I really do like the character of Freddy in this one with the one-liners. It's very memorable. The kills are good. It has critters playing in the background of it, so the best one of the franchise has my favorite movie in it. It's got Dream Warriors for the sound, for the soundtrack. Love that.
Sing it
Uh,
with me.
it's the Dream Warriors. That was awful.
We should start a band.
um, so I give this movie an 8 out of 10. So we're
Excellent.
on the same page.
Dude, I
And
think
you know
that
what's really
this
weird about this?
was
So the first movie we reviewed got 14, which was The Burning. The second movie was The Prowler, got 15. The third movie, Nightmare on Elm Street, got 16. So we
I think
went
it's
up one way.
every time. But I think I think it's good. I think that that's exactly where each of them need to be. And honestly, I want to say that this is a major moment in our history of the show because I think that we have never been on the same page as much as we've been in this episode ever.
On
Like
all three
even
films. Yeah.
like even before we started making the show, just us being friends for so long, like we've never agreed as much as we've agreed today on things. But
Yeah.
I think
Um,
that like we're right. I'm like we're right in agreement with this. It's crazy.
I will say this though. I don't think like if you were to ask me which one of these movies, like would one of these movies be the quintessential 80s horror film, 80s slasher movie? I don't think either of these three films is the number one 80s slasher film.
Yeah. Well, I think that I would I understand that. I think I agree, but I don't know what it would be. I'm trying to think what I would choose. But looking at it, I think that we have a nice variety mix. Like we have two one-offs. We have Tom Savini being highlighted. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 kind of brings a major pivotal moment in horror franchise. So I mean, I think that overall they're three important films. But I mean, I'd have to think about it, but I would probably agree that none of the three are number one for 80s. Do you have one for number one for 80s?
Just by going off of the formulaic statute that they have set for slasher films, is
Yeah.
when you say slasher movie, you're looking at people at a camp, somewhere at camp, getting killed off by an unknown killer wearing a mask. Friday the 13th. That to me is the quintessential 80s slasher film. Now, not necessarily a quintessential 80s horror film, but if you're just dropping the subgenre down to slasher, I
Yeah.
Friday the 13th has got to be the quintessential listing for number one.
Eh, that's the first one.
Yeah, it's got everything formulaic with it. It's got the stalk and slash, great effects, camp counselors, people at a camp, with a backstory of why a killer is killing, and it just sets the standards for how slasher films are done. And every movie from that point on was a ripoff or wanted to be a ripoff of Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get where you're coming from. I don't know if I'd quite there. So to me, that might be the one that set the formula, the basic formula up. But what about the films that perfected it? You have to also look at those. In a way, I kind of think that Friday the 13th later on outdid itself with the original, being better. Like, every time I think that they figured out, like the first film, I'm right with you. I think you're onto something with that. So I think the first film kind of like said like, hey, this is the formula, and then the second film was like, let's make it a little bit better. And they were like, well, the bag's kind of fucking stupid, so we should probably change it. And then they move on, and you know what I mean? And then it just keeps improving.
Yeah,
I don't.
it's not my favorite of the franchise, but I think it is the one. Like, if you had said, what do you think is the main thing that pinpoints what 80s slasher movies represent? I got to pick that one.
Friday the 13th Part 4. What year was that?
Um, 84.
So that would have been, yeah, you're right. So it was on 84. So that would have been right as things were starting to become cliche, I feel like. So yeah, I mean that sounds, I think that's like a nice like middle ground, like saying like, hey, we've perfected the format of slasher and kind of like the way that they are. So I don't know.
What do you think is?
mm, well, dang, I kind of think now Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Now that we talked about it, because I'm thinking about because I'm thinking about now. I think I agree with you when you say like it started kind of like started the formula. I guess you could almost say though that Halloween kind of had a push there, but I understand where you're coming from when you say Friday the 13th perfected it. Not perfected it, but kind of like set out the
Yeah,
actual
but
formula itself.
but Halloween though was in the 70s. So
Yeah,
if
true.
somebody asked you, Tyler, what what is an 80s slasher movie? Like what's that? Like, can you show me what that represents? What how do I know what an 80s slasher movie is supposed to be like? What do you pick? It's got to be Friday the 13th.
It would be Friday the 13th Part 4.
Well, fuck you. No.
The only reason being because I feel like Friday the 13th Part 4 has the formula. I feel like Friday the 13th doesn't have the formula though. Like it has the formula, but it's not necessarily like in your face, like apparent. Like you don't really get any. Jason Voorhees throughout. Like you don't really, you know what I mean? It's kind of like lacking an antagonist in a way. It has an antagonist, but it's
Yeah, but like
lacking
if
appearance, I
you
guess.
take if you take Jason Voorhees and you put him in the original Friday the 13th, the only thing that changes is the very last act. Everything else stays the same. The stalk and slash throughout the woods, the point of view from the killer, the violent death scenes, everything is the same except when you reveal who the killer is. That's the only thing that changes.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Like I'm right there with you, but I'm just thinking of like one once they got it perfected. I don't know. That's just the way I would choose one that once they figured it out, that's the one I would choose. But
I had to argue with you about something because you said we were leaning toward the same ratings on every one of our movies. So I had to find something that we disagreed on.
nice. Well, no, I love listen, there's been two movies that I think I've seen more than anything else in my entire life. One was Friday the 13th, the other one was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think I could probably quote each of those movies line at this point. So
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
love them. I just think that Friday the 13th has something about it that wasn't quite there until later on. I don't know. There was always something about it. Listen, you are right though. Like Friday the 13th did have that revenge plot. Obviously they let Jason Voorhees drown in the lake, so it has that revenge plot. I think that it follows that formula, so I'm right there with you. But I would say I don't know why I thought in my head a lot of people consider 1987 a perfect year for like slasher horror. And while there was tons of stuff, I can't even name all the stuff that came out in 1987. There's tons of like that was a huge year too. But I think even earlier on, when we get these early examples of slasher, I think that they nailed the formula too, and they came out right up on where Friday the 13th was.
Well,
So
yeah, even Halloween 2 kind of took the same approach like Stalk and Slash, with it being in the hospital, Michael hunting Laurie down throughout the hospital. It works the
yeah,
same way, and that was 81 as well. So, or was it 80?
right.
Was it 81? It was 81,
No,
wasn't
it
it?
was 80, it was 81. 78 was the original. 81 was the
81,
second.
yeah. Yes. Again, we're back in the 81. That was the year. That was the top year for slasher films. Like,
Imagine what the theater was like that year, just like seeing them. One thing I will say about 80s slasher, they have the most kick-ass names. Like, I don't know who named these like films, but every single film they were like they always like call it the something at the end. And there's something about it that's just like we don't get that today. Like we just
no.
don't get the Mangler, the Mutilator, you know what I mean? Blood Rage. It's just I kind of miss that. Or the
It's
Prowler.
it's like what they did is those are very basic common words. And someone was like, we need to make this movie very basic, but instead of using those words, we're going to open up a thesaurus and find out what other words represent those basic words.
Mm.
That's
They're
exactly
like,
what they do nowadays.
let's find like what we can think about. We want to put the word blood in here, but we need something very angsty and like mean hearted. They're like, well, we could go like rage. Somebody fucking came up with blood beat. I mean, like, what the hell? That was the
Yeah,
lazy one. That
that's
was
like
the
a
one where they didn't really
Christmas.
know.
It's like a Christmas horror film. Like we watched. Do you remember watching that? We
Yes.
watched that. It's like a samurai killer on Christmas. Like I'd never seen it. We watched that together. You showed me this. You're like, you gotta watch this movie. I was like, the fuck is a samurai doing
It was
on a
insane.
Christmas
It was
ghost?
a samurai. It was a samurai. Like, yeah, it was like a what I'm trying to say, supernatural. It was a supernatural samurai slasher film, and they played the longest fucking game of Monopoly I've ever seen in my entire life. It was to the point the samurai was coming back, and they were like literally like anticipating him. And they were like, "Oh, he's you know what I mean?" Like they were like trying to hide from him, and they were like, "I don't give a shit. We're finishing this game of Monopoly tonight." And they just keep playing Monopoly all night long, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this game of Monopoly.
And they played it so long that someone actually won the game.
They were like, we have to have a winner tonight.
What year did that come out? Was that 81?
I think it was in the 80s too. Let me check. Let's check. Let me
No,
look
it was
here.
probably like 86 or 7. It had to be like a later one to play off on
I
all that silly.
83.
83. Okay, that was kind of like okay. It did come in toward like the highlight of slasher films.
Listen, I have a soft spot for that because it's so stupid and outrageous, and it's a samurai ghost movie. I think it's great. I love the Monopoly scenes. I can't get
So
over it.
Friday the 13th, they play strip Monopoly in Friday the 13th. There you go. We're back to the number
Exactly.
like
They
quintessential.
stole the formula from Friday the 13th for the Samurai Blood Beat.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right,
this has
but
been
guys,
fun. This has
that
been fun.
it's been a lot of fun. That is the 80s slasher film battle. Now we could do this over and over with 80s slasher films. As we just mentioned, there's tons and tons of 80s slasher movies we could take for our next round of it. We'll figure out what we're going to do next when it comes to a category. But we really appreciate you guys listening. Please let us know what you liked, what you didn't like about the show. Please follow us. You can actually find our show on Spotify. You can find it on Apple Podcasts. We'll even have the show up on YouTube as well if you'd rather do it through YouTube. Just anywhere you get your wherever you listen to podcasts at, you can get that feed straight to it. So follow us on those so you get the updates, letting you know when we post new episodes. We're going to try to have these out a little bit more often than what we did previously, and we hope that we can get everything needed for the next round with like an actual third host and everything. But if not, I mean, Tyler, I can talk to you about horror films all day long. So even if it's
Hell
just
yeah.
us two, it'll be fun. But we're going to try to get a third host on here from time to time to be able to go in and have a little bit more discussions as well and getting another take on it. But we do appreciate you guys for listening in. And hopefully you guys follow us, Fright Fights Podcast on Facebook, which is Fright Fights Entertainment page. And then you can follow us at Fright Fights Podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.